what it seems. Waking up at night with dreams, I swear you don't know what that means. Man, I'm steady sipping water, this time is getting shorter. Down to the last minute, there might not be no tomorrow. What's the point of waking up when I know my day gon' suck? Feel like I'm giving up, plus my luck just ain't much. Perplexing as I'm resting, keep changing my direction. All the stressing that I'm getting is progressing my depression. Is it wrong how I'm feeling? Like I just don't wanna be living, like it's not worth existing. That's what my mind's depicting, thinking things to make me happy. People thinking they can trap me, but at last I surpass any plans of trying to catch me. They don't know I'm out to get it, they just won't give me credit. If I felt it, then I said it. Best believe that I meant it. As the lightning starts to strike, I keep writing about my life. Now things is looking bright. In other words, I see the light. I see the light, it's shining, bright and it's white. I see the light, keep breathing, I ain't leaving the night. I see the light, this ain't right, I'm having the time of my life. I see the light, I got plans, don't plan on dying tonight. I see the light, it's shining, bright and it's white. I see the light, keep breathing, I ain't leaving the night. I see the light, this ain't right, I'm having the time of my life. I see the light, I got plans, don't plan on dying tonight. Got plenty verses, plenty lyrics, none worse than evil spirits. So many souls I ain't heard from fallen leaders, that's diminished. Close to down, almost my time was on my mind when I wrote my rhyme. Out of breath, running from death, but always follow close behind. I don't wanna die, but I don't wanna live. Don't wanna try and I don't wanna give. That ain't no lie, you think it is. What type of nigga you think this is? I was born for a reason, many months and many seasons pass me by, don't ask me why. Feels like my soul's bleeding, something special supposed to happen. I never chose rapping, rapping chose me. Born to be a mic assassin, picture scriptures being whispered by this mister. When it hits you, when it gets you, when it enters, feels like my soul's richer. Feel my presence and my essence, at times I can be unpleasant. Time will tell where am I headed, is it hell or is it heaven? God provided me with the gift, giving me that extra lift. As the earth begins to shift, I see the light is being lit. I see the light, it's shining, bright and it's white. I see the light, keep breathing, I ain't leaving the night. I see the light, this ain't right, I'm having the time of my life. I see the light, I got plans, don't plan on dying tonight. I see the light, it's shining, bright and it's white. I see the light, keep breathing, I ain't leaving the night. I see the light, this ain't right, I'm having the time of my life. I see the light, I got plans, don't plan on dying tonight. Now my mind is picking, clicking, choosing, oozing, losing thought. Making quick decisions, point of views, I'm looking smart. Now everywhere I go, I know the world is gonna test me. But everywhere I go, I know the Lord is gonna bless me. I take my time and make my rhyme. Some people think it's a waste of time. They out of line, they think I'm lying until the day I finally shine. Prove them wrong, keep doing songs, won't be too long till I'm too strong. Face the facts that I'm making tracks and let you know it's gonna be on. I'm gonna try, it's worth a chance. I can face the circumstance. Take my time and take a glance and look in the mirror, fall into a trance. I was born to be a leader, till I'm gone I'll be a believer. Y'all gon' feel me like a seizure. If you doubt me, I don't need you. People doubt you when you down, but when you up, they all around. When you broke, they give you frowns, but when you rich, they give you pounds. Remain on top, I ain't gon' drop. While other floss, they chain to watch. I floss my brain, my aim don't stop. I scorch the game, I play. I see the light, it's shining, bright and it's white. I see the light, keep breathing, I ain't leaving the night. I see the light, this ain't right, I'm having the time of my life. I see the light, I got plans, don't plan on dying tonight. I see the light, it's shining, bright and it's white. I see the light, keep breathing, I ain't leaving the night. I see the light, this ain't right, I'm having the time of my life. I see the light, I got plans, don't plan on dying tonight.
Yeah, about to have me some Dr. What the What the heck? What the heck? I had my mouth. What the
you really believe that garbage?
It's not about a believing, it's a matter of fact.
So you believe
The people over here who run this nation support injustices over there. You probably don't even know what happened in the 1940s.
In any country, prison is where society sends its failures. But in this country, society itself is failing.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
We won the evangelicals. We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
Grab him by the pussy.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Let's go to war. Let's go to war.
We are not at war with Muslims.
Let's go to war.
We don't have a beef with Muslims.
Let's go to war.
We want to be friends with
Let's go
Muslims
to war.
and Muslim children.
Let's go to war.
We fighting evil people. It's important for the boys and girls of Thurgood Marshall to know
Let's go to war.
that we're fighting evil.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Olivia Gondak, it says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondak, I've never said that in my life tour. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home. Thank you very much.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Okay. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. We now have a gun on every table. We're ready to start shooting.
By the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
sarcastically.
That was
Even though they're trying to impeach the son of a bitch. Can you believe that? You believe that? That's enough. Put down the mic.
President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this
I'd like to
investigation?
punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
It's a human under attack.
I don't want reality. I'm asking the question, which one is better? That's exactly what it is.
got it on tape.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Step into the tense arena of politics with TFP, where raw honesty meets critical analysis. The world's most dangerous political panel, featuring the voices of the radical Republican, MD-20, the political prophet amongst men, Ricardo, the uppity independent king of popcorn, who's waiting and watching in the political theater, Mike, the fatalist, who is always Mike is right from the other's gang, and Venkat, the progressive producer extraordinaire, dives deep into controversial topics that shape our global stage.
With sharp insights and unfiltered discussions,
they explore the complex narratives of past and present political dilemmas that affect us all.
They're eating the dogs.
Each episode acts as a magnifying glass, scrutinizing the layers of misinformation and propaganda that permeate our world. The panel's dynamic interplay ignites debates that challenge viewers to confront uncomfortable truths about governance, power, and societal responsibility.
Engage with thought-provoking content that not only informs, but inspires action.
TFP is not just a series. It is a call to awareness, urging audiences to participate in the political discourse and foster change in their communities.
Now get ready to witness the strength of tape-fist politics.
How stupid are these politicians to allow this to happen?
Everything you saw on the news is sucker shit. It's sucker shit. Nation, make sure that people like us are always struggling and in fucked up situations. We're gonna beat these people. I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but it's been a hard fight. These people hate our children.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
He who saves his country does not violate any law, implying that he is above the law, triggered alarm bells from experts who were already concerned about the legal and constitutional boundaries tested in President Trump's first few weeks in office.
My dad will not fly for nothing. You at a bodega, I can tell.
Yeah, we're scared because, yes, once Trump came in office, all of a sudden now we're seeing planes is crashing and booming everywhere. Why?
They're not crashing and booming and everywhere, though. This is why you got to deal with logic and reality.
Thank you, Mama.
Trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay?
When you don't have the best standards in who you're hiring, it means on the one hand, you're not getting the best people in government, but on the other hand, it puts stresses on the people who are already there.
We will have the best and brightest in every position possible. As you said in your inaugural, it is colorblind and merit-based. The best leaders possible, whether it's flying Blackhawks and flying airplanes, leading platoons, or in government. The era of DEI is gone at the Defense Department, and we need the best and brightest, whether it's in our air traffic control, or whether it's in our generals, or whether it's throughout government.
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA administrator, in this case acting FAA administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in light of this plane crash, I just want to make sure that I understand the timeline here. On January 20th, Trump and Elon pushed out the FAA administrator. They never named a replacement. Also on January 20th, Donald Trump implemented a hiring freeze, including for air traffic controllers. On January 21st, Trump disbanded the Aviation Security Advisory Committee. And then on January 29th, we saw the first passenger airline collision in 16 years. I should also note that only one air traffic controller was working at the time, despite the job requiring 2 people. And so what does Donald Trump do? Well, he can't shoulder any of the responsibility himself, so he points to Joe Biden and the Democrats and Pete Buttigieg and DEI because he is incapable of accepting responsibility for his own actions. Dude ran for president. He wanted to be the guy in charge. Now he gets to act like it.
Have you spoken to any of the families of the victims of the plane crash?
I don't want to comment on that.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of the
I have a
first
plan
responders?
to visit, not the site, because what did you tell me? What's the site? The water?
Or to meet with the first responders down there?
I don't have a plan to do that, but I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously, but I'll be meeting with some of the families, yeah.
President Donald Trump's administration has begun firing several hundred Federal Aviation Administration employees, upending staff on a busy air travel weekend and just weeks after a January fatal mid-air collision at Ronald Reagan International Airport.
The air traffic controllers got the same fork in the road email pushing them to retire as everybody else in the federal government did. Then there was another Q&A email that went out that even more aggressively pushed everyone in the federal government, including air traffic controllers. This shows you, right? Federal government is not a business.
Should people be hesitant to fly right now?
No, not at all. I've not hesitated to fly. This is something that It's been many years that something like this has happened, and the collision is just something that we don't expect ever to happen again.
48 hours later.
The firings came in the form of an email. Several hundred probationary workers getting the news late Friday. Impacts of the decision still not quite clear. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association taking to Instagram to put up a statement which read in part, "We will analyze the effect of these terminations on aviation safety and the national airspace system." White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt writing on X, "No air traffic controllers nor any professionals who perform safety-critical functions were terminated." The firings come less than 3 weeks since the mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. between a Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines passenger jet, which killed 67 people and highlighted FAA infrastructure issues. The decision, though, part of the Trump administration's broad effort to shrink the size of the federal government.
Passengers and their families learned about the Trump administration's FAA firings as they grabbed their bags.
Given all of the plane crashes, I don't know much about it, but it seems like a bad idea.
Later that same evening.
We're in Toronto. We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down. Fire department's on site. Upside down. Everybody, most people appear to be okay. We're all getting off. Some smoke going on.
There are serious injuries, but incredibly, everyone on board has survived.
Oh, no.
We are seeing for the first time the frightening crash landing of the Delta flight that rolled and ended up upside down in Toronto.
New details emerging about the chaotic final moments of Delta Flight 4819. Investigators are reviewing this video of the jet as it came in for a landing at Toronto Pearson International Airport. Passenger John Nelson describing hitting the runway extremely hard.
It was just incredibly fast. There was a giant firewall down the side. I could actually feel the heat through the glass. And then we were going sideways. I'm not even sure how many times we tumbled.
Passengers hanging upside down in the cabin, held in by their seatbelts. In this video obtained by ABC News, crew members seen standing on the ceiling.
Drop it! Come on!
Helping passengers scramble to escape.
The crew of Delta Flight 4819 heroically led passengers to safety, evacuating a jet that had overturned on the runway on landing that was amidst smoke and fire. I thank each and every one of these heroes.
The Delta regional jet departed from Minneapolis Monday for Toronto with 76 passengers and 4 crew members, landing around 2 p.m. local time.
Just so you are, there's people outside walking around the aircraft there. Yeah, we've got it. The aircraft is upside down and burning.
President Donald Trump's administration has begun firing several hundred Federal Aviation Administration employees, upending staff on a busy air travel week. Fatal mid-air collision at Ronald Reagan International Airport.
The air traffic controllers got the same fork-in-the-road email pushing them to retire as everybody else in the federal government did. Then there was another Q&A email that went out that even more aggressively pushed everyone in the federal government, including air traffic controllers. This shows you.
Tonight on TFP, the stage is set for another exhilarating exploration of politics with this episode. Join Ricardo, Venkat, MD20, and Mike as they delve into the dynamics that shape our world, offering their unique perspectives on current affairs, with debate and discourse at the forefront. Expect a lively exchange filled with insightful analysis and bold predictions. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation, as each voice brings forth a blend of experiences in varying positions, creating a tapestry of ideas that resonate with the audience. Join us for a night where knowledge meets passion, and discover why Mike is right Tune in for an unforgettable experience with the political prophet amongst men. This is TFP, Taped Fists Politics. Let's go.
I don't hear nothing, Van Cat. If you're talking, you're muted. Somebody put a 1 in the chat if they can hear me. I don't know if we're having technical difficulties or not.
MD, you can hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh man, hold on. Oh, goodness.
Technical difficulties, folks. Give us a second. Stand by.
What's up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I'm back with another episode of Straight Talk with Trevor.
Because the ladies from Pour Your Heart Out
no topic
will be over
is
here
off
to
limits.
join the panel.
Plus, but it's a must, you gon' respect this. Plus, it nuts with touch of dust, you tryna check this. You ain't
The
insane,
MMA brothers, Bones and Zay, have pre and post shows to the MMA shows, and I am your host, Mr. Straight Talk, the man with the greatest beard on YouTube.
I'm gonna tell you something. Facial hair is not apostolic. However you want to cut it, it's compromise. I don't care if your leader says you can wear a beard, honey. Beard's nothing more than pride. You're not going to be dipped in Holy Ghost oil and run around looking like the world.
Oh, I love throwing that in there. Real quick, I am back on Facebook. I guess they took me out of jail. I was able to connect the channel back. Those of you on Facebook, make sure and hit that like, share, and subscribe button.
And also, on Mondays, 6 o'clock, tune in to the same channel for Man Talk Monday. Trust me, you ain't got nothing better to do. Even if you think you do and you tune into that show, you're going to realize, oh, man,
okay,
I've been missing this.
Yeah. Because
This is why you need me.
Once you listen to that,
All right. MD, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh my goodness. I don't know, man. That's crazy. All right, we back on deck. All right. This is Venkat. I am here with the world's most dangerous political panel. This is TFP Tuesday. And on the panel, we got MD20, the political prophet amongst men. What's going on, MD?
What's going on? What's happening?
Oh, man. I don't know. Like, I mean, this stream started off like the Trump administration 2.0. Oh, my God. All right. So we're here. We're back. We're
Yeah,
live, pal.
you can't go around. You can't go around firing the production team. Venkat, you can't. You see what happened?
Exactly. It went straight to hell. My God. Oh, my goodness. So, let's bring up Ricardo. Yeah, we got Ricardo on the panel. What's going on? King of popcorn. Ricardo, you hear me?
Can you hear me now? I'm here.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
I'm good. Just some technical issues just now, but we all good. Here.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we're back for another week here. It's a no-fly zone. So right off the bat, we saw it. And I mean, how many planes are going to go down in just about a month? It's not even a full month. Today's the 18th. He's been in office for about a month. He's fired some people, and we've had some weird results. We'll start off with MD. What do you think about all these Black Hawks down and planes going down and everything down?
Hey man, I guess it's tinfoil hat time because yes, it's idiotic. It's incompetence, a display of incompetence to fire these essential workers that are crucial for our safety in regards to flight with the FAA and the air traffic controllers. It's a dumb position. We all know this, right? What value can a megamaniac give you as an air traffic controller? I don't know. I don't know why they doing it. Beats me. That's why, and I'm not the conspiracy guy, but I must bring in conspiracies because throughout the course of years, spanning over a decade, we haven't had issues to this impact as it pertains to these collisions and these incidents, specifically in and around airports. It'll be a different story if this was happening mid-flight, so on and so forth. All the incidents we've seen, whether they be commercial flights, single engine planes, whatever the situation may be, they've been in and around airports, rather it be on takeoff or arrival. Why, I don't know. I'm of the suspicion that somebody is messing with the radar. I'm gonna just keep it real with you. I believe there's some nefarious takings happening. With whom, I don't know. I'm not gonna link it to Trump or the United States. I don't know. Somebody's messing with that system, Venkat. The first incident we had in Philadelphia, it was an issue with altitude and being able to distinguish correct altitude. Am I correct? In terms of the Black Hawk and the commercial
You mean
plane.
DC, right?
Oh, DC. I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah, Philadelphia was
I'm
the
good
second one.
myself.
Yeah, but there's so many of them,
And
you can lose track easy.
there you go. The one in DC, there was a questioning of correct altitude. The Black Hawk believed it was at a certain altitude. It was not. Therefore, they had a collision. You mean to tell me the most sophisticated, technologically advanced military in the world does not know what altitude it's at, even if it was a training mission? That's not an excuse, because you have somebody that's credentialed and experienced on that particular chopper. Then we had the instance in Philadelphia with the smaller plane at takeoff, having some type of engine malfunction. We had this over the weekend here in the Atlanta area. Another plane, 2 people died, single engine. Just so many instances. The Alaska flight, and now you have this one. That plane clearly was doing everything that it was supposed to do. When it first happened, you know, people were speculating. They said it was a landing gear malfunction. Well, the video clearly showed you that there was no landing gear malfunction. The landing gear was clearly down. How it was supposed to be. It is to my belief, and like I said, pure speculation, putting on tinfoil hat, that plane thought it was at an altitude because it was coming in hot, like real hot. And I don't think the speed was calculated or let me say tuned in to where the altitude was at for arrival. That's my opinion. Like I said, I don't know nothing about aviation. I don't even like getting on airplanes. I'll do it, but now I'm definitely not getting on no airplane. So the fact remains, I believe there's some shady goings as it pertains to what's happening with our radar system, which is, by the way, regulated through Department of Defense and the military. You know what I mean? The FAA don't got its own system. We use military technologies in order to facilitate flights coming in and out of major airports. So keep that in mind. So it is to my belief that somebody is doing something to the radar system. It could be something domestic. I don't believe it's domestic. I believe it could be I guess you would say a enemy country that's doing these things. And VanCat done left again. That's my belief, because this is not a coincidence, y'all. I don't care like how you try to generalize it or rationalize the situation. This ain't a common occurrence that's just happening in bulk. That's not happening. No, I can't go for that. Something's going on, folks. And with the Trump administration now in play, unfortunately, we may never know, because they sure as hell ain't gonna tell us what's happening. They'll blame it on black people and gays, and double down if you black and gay. So you know, hey, we living in some dangerous times, folks. Dangerous times.
Black, gay, and a dwarf.
Yeah, and a dwarf. Yeah.
I mean,
with a limp, you got double disability.
There you go.
So hey, man, we living in some dangerous times, and this is a microcosm, unfortunately, of a broader issue when it comes to the Trump administration. I'm the guy that says we need to cut back on regulation, but I'm not stupid, right? I understand that you have to facilitate some order in order for things to work. With Trump, we don't know what's happening. FAA is one example of the health concerns that are about to take place, not only from a personal level, but from the things that we eat. We don't know. We know that there's an avian flu going around in the poultry industry. We haven't heard a single word from the people that's supposed to be telling us what's going on. Yet egg prices are going high. So these are all examples of not miscommunication, because it's not miscommunication. It's just downright incompetence. Go ahead, VanCat.
Well, I just wanted to say real quick, MD. So I feel like it's funny how, for some reason, this avian flu, whatever the hell flu they want to call it this week, is killing the birds, right? But so that makes us have less eggs. So the price goes up for the eggs like crazy. But why isn't the chicken price going up like the egg price? The chicken price ain't going up.
Well, that's actually a good question, but there's an explanation for it. When we talk about poultry, it's essentially two different industries. You got your poultry meat industry and you got your poultry egg industry. They're two different. They don't keep the chickens that they kill with the chickens that they produce eggs with. So right now it's a targeted. It's I don't want to say contained because that would be the wrong word, but it's maneuvered around the egg producing industry, not the meat. So, and they actually mentioned that in a lot of reports. But the Trump team ain't gonna tell you that. The CDC ain't gonna tell you that. The Health and Human Services ain't gonna tell you that.
So MD, why is it that somehow the meat producing industry of the chicken somehow all these chickens have Iron Man suits on, and the egg producing chickens they just out there exposed taking shots?
I don't know, and we may never know. That's what I'm saying.
I think we know, MD.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Because they made it up last time in 2021 when they created this fake excuse of why the prices were going up. They pointed to a disease outbreak that killed a bunch of chickens. 2 years later, they had a CEO meeting dealing with donors and whatnot on in Wall Street, and they were explaining how they didn't have any real significant losses with birds. They were just able to look at inflation and say, hey, if we up the price a little bit more, nobody will bat an eye because they're already used to paying high prices anyway. People go to the supermarket in this inflationary time that we live in already expecting to pay a lot. So if we up it even more, they're not gonna not buy it. So that's how they were able in that meeting to report to them how they've had record profits.
I don't disagree with what you said, but we're not looking at a situation where they were able to sneak in and hike prices. The prices went from one price to an astronomical price, damn near overnight. So you can't factor in. You can't I guess step away from the actual bird flu factor. It's there. It's definitely there. We've had several cases reported here in my state. So it's there. Can they use that as an excuse? Yeah, of course. But you can't misstep on that factor. That's all I'm saying. It's there.
I don't trust corporate America at all.
Targeted. and it's targeted in a specific industry. You know what I mean? The meat versus the eggs, that's two separate things. But that's another example of what's going on with just a overabundance of stupidity when it comes to being able to relay that to the American public. And the FAA and the crashes, that's another example.
Do you think that the petty king sitting on his throne saying he's going to throw tariffs here and there I'm already feeling it where I'm working at, as far as the company I'm working for. They're already making adjustments and they're already pulling back. And even though nothing really has happened legislatively wise or whatever, just that rhetoric has just changed the tone. And a lot of companies, I feel, are pulling back and whatnot. Do you think that with him saying what he's saying, that also drives those companies, Egglands, to bring up those prices as well? That could be a factor.
I mean, quite possibly. But I think you need in order to do what happened with the price hike, you have to have a majority stake in what the initial issue is as you want to relay it to the public. And I think bird flu was that factor. Again, this is a national thing. It especially here in the Southeast where we live at, we see it. I guess you would say on a more extreme level, because we have a lot of that industry here in where we live at. So, like I said, I went to Waffle House last weekend and they talking about 50 cent more per egg. I'm like, yo, like what the hell? You would think that instance wouldn't be as impactful, but it is. Again, nefarious means, of course, that's always a possibility dealing with any company. But as far as the federal government alleviating the pressure, we have not seen that. As far as the federal government giving an explanation in terms of what they think, it could be wrong. Just give us an initial breakdown of the information that you have as it pertains to why this is happening with these airlines. Like that, we're not even getting brainstorming. We're not even getting what could possibly be the issue. So ultimately, it is to my belief that it's some international espionage going on as it pertains to our radar system, which is facilitated and regulated by the military. like I don't think this is a coincidence, folks. I don't see how it could be. Just all of a sudden this happened and it's happening in both. That don't make sense. I can't go and I can't even use the situation with air traffic controllers and far as their numbers dwindling. I can't even use that. Because then you would say that the job itself is not really based on incompetence, it's based on volume, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
Well,
so that's my take.
All right. So we got Ricardo here on the panel. Ricardo, what are your thoughts here on a multitude of things? But first and foremost, we got the sky is falling, and Agent Orange is really not in UFC events, but the sky is falling, and every other day it seems like a new plane is going down. What's your thoughts on what's going on?
There's quite a few things that, for me, is like a little bit perturbing. One of them is because it's not like we're not self-aware of what's going on. Like, I mean, there's a purge going on in terms of big, government and Trump stating that he wants to slash across the board to try to ease spending in terms.
Hello? MD, you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. I thought that was me.
Oh no, Ricardo, can you hear us? Oh, I think we lost Ricardo. Yeah, his thing is on mute. Ricardo, your mic is on mute. Oh.
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
There's two cards. Okay, now there's one avatar. Yeah, AT&T here. So if y'all see me drop in and out, it's because I'm in a dead zone and there's no. So AT&T, I hate your monopoly, but I got beef with y'all. But to continue what I was saying, there's a purge going on with the industry right now, and one of them I don't agree with when it comes to aviation, because I'm in that field. I have to speak on it. If y'all remember, this is like deja vu all over again. I don't know why this seems so familiar. When Trump came in the first time, if we forget, there was this whole issue of, they try to do the discretionary spending and try to balloon the what you call it, MD, the overall U.S. bill and all of that. And I guess there's like a way that you have to vote to actually have it inflate or go high, or in terms of spending wise. And if you remember, the last time around,
you're talking about raising the debt ceiling.
The debt ceiling, there we go. When the last time around, and ironically enough, deja vu all over again, when Trump came in the last time, the debt ceiling had to be raised. And it was one of those things where, if you remember, essential workers, which was like the government workers, got affected. TSA particularly, there was a whole thing of them not being able to sign and blah, 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 la, and all of that happened, where most of these workers couldn't, didn't get paid. It was, I think it was the national parks, TSA, all of that. I don't know how we're playing around with you now going across the board to slash people, like people losing their jobs in the beginning of the first quarter of the year. That doesn't make any sense. I would have thought in terms of a template wise, they would have said, all right, you know what, we're going to give these people at least 6 months, at least prepare themselves, because you don't know if people have bought houses, the month or the year before. You don't know if people have bought cars, brand new vehicles. You don't know if people had saved up spending for or getting ready to retire. You did a whole bunch of slashing across the board. As for why, I'm going to go into that in a few seconds, because I also have my 10 hats on, based on how MD was saying with the conspiracy. Back to the aviation. So, when you cut like TSA and all these, government jobs, like, whether it be TSA, IRS, FBI, whatever it is, there's a plethora of government jobs. My thinking is, and this is always just me saying this, you're going to affect the unemployment bill. So I don't know where he's going with this. I don't know how this makes sense in like a mania world. Nothing makes sense to me. But, again, this is like, I guess, Elon Musk thinking he's Henry Ford, because now that you're the richest man in the US, perhaps the world, you think you have this oligarchy manual that you're now, professing that you can now go and change the stuff. It doesn't work like that. You can't just come in as a I'm not the guy here. A white South African apartheid loving dude that thinks that he hates DEI, he hates anything. Mind you, he's from South Africa, but the white part of it, that part where we had during history where they were like, oh, we just should keep the white people one part and the black people one part. Yeah, he's from that South Africa era. The era where Nelson Mandela had to be liberated from prison, and then once he was liberated, became, president of South Africa. That kind of era. That's where he's from. That era when they started killing a whole bunch of black people. That's the era that Elon Musk is from, and he's trying to bring that here. I don't know how we're associating with South Africa when we're the United States of America, but it's a whole nother, nigga bab I'm going to go into with him. Back to aviation. This crash that happened, if y'all don't know right now, this would be the 87th confirmed plane incident in the US or North America this year. That's a lot. Typically on a first quarter segmentation of like aviation, you will get like 1, 2, maybe 4 crashes. You have 87 in the start of the year. That should send alarm bells to everyone. That's like whether you fly, whether you have someone that flies, it affects everybody across the board. Aviation affects everything because it comes down to logistics.
Ricardo, you there?
Yeah, I think he went back out again. And while we waiting on Ricardo to come back, let me go with what Trev was talking about the 62 plane crashes again. What's the caveat? We talking about commercial. For the most, as far as commercial, there haven't been a lot, and as far as fatal, there hasn't been one in over 15 years. So this is what I'm talking. Yeah, like we're not talking about. Yeah, we had the issues with the single engines and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm still saying that's particularly high in this instance. But as far as commercial planes, no, this is not common, like at all. They say, now I don't say it, but they say that airline travel is the safest mode of travel. That's what they say. So in the instance of we're talking about commercial jumbo jets, this ain't normal. It ain't common at all. So we got Ricardo back.
Ricardo, can you hear us? Oh boy. No. No, I think Ricardo is still not here. Hold on 1 second. Ricardo, can you hear us? I got him. I got him up here. One of them is Ricardo. I don't know which one is. One just disappeared.
You on mute, Ricardo. Unmute yourself and see what happens.
Let's see.
Okay, yeah, it don't look like it's a good night for Ricardo.
I think Elon Musk is working his magic. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
we might have to request Starlink for where you stay at. Like I don't know what's going on.
Oh man! All right, so we'll continue. As I don't know which one of the two is the real Ricardo. Which one of the two? But they're both muted, so
He
I don't know.
says he can hear us backstage, and I don't. So I don't know what's going on.
I added him. I added him to the panel. Oh, hold on. There's another one in there. Hold on. Now it's three Ricardos.
Yeah. We're gonna have to see if we can allocate some FEMA funding for you, Ricardo. Get your Starlink. I'm about to call Elon right now.
This is that Spider-Man meme. You. Spider-Man's pointing at Spider-Man. Oh man. I mean they're all on mute, so while we wait to figure out which will the real Ricardo please stand up? Let's go to oh man, what is going on tonight is what he's saying. Yeah, it's a wild situation. I'm gonna put the link back in the chat. While we try to figure this out, let's go to another story. It's non-related, but there was a shooting. There was a shooting in I believe Fort Lauderdale or Miami. But the person that was shooting at the people he thought was Palestinian, but they weren't. They were actually Israelis. So let's take a look at that video. We'll be right back.
Two men were shot at more than a dozen times while driving on Miami Beach. Tonight, we hear from those victims. Local 10's crime specialist Bridget Matter is live on Miami Beach with the exclusive. Bridget.
And it's truly a miracle that these two were not seriously hurt. They say that while they were driving, they were randomly attacked, a man shooting off as many as 17 shots at their car.
This is the mugshot for 27-year-old Mordecai Braffman. He's accused of shooting at two men in Miami Beach Saturday evening.
There was a truck passing next to him. Right on him. Boom, 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 boom. He just randomly started shooting it.
Ari Rive was shot in the shoulder. He spoke to us with help from his cousin to translate. He says he and his father were randomly attacked while driving off Alton Road, the two visiting from Israel. Video shows their car riddled with bullets. Police say 17 shots were fired.
He put the window down from the driver's seat and just blasted them.
Ari was hit in the shoulder. The bullet still lodged in his body following the attack.
After they took off, he tried shooting them from the back of their car. Bullet went through right next to him, right next to his ear because he was the driver. And he was holding his dad's head because he thought that dad got shot in the head.
Surveillance video shows the men trying to get help from a nearby business. The suspect was quickly arrested. In the arrest form, it says Braffman told detectives he saw two Palestinians and shot and killed both. The victims and the suspect did not know one another. Father and son say it was a miracle neither were seriously hurt.
He's saying God gave him life as a gift. And he's still alive, so he's happy.
The two say they're thankful for a security guard at one of those businesses that helped them and called 911. As for the suspect, he's facing a second-degree attempted murder charge. We're live in Miami Beach tonight. Bridget Matter, Local 10 News.
All right, so there we go. That's a story that just recently happened. You have a guy shoot at people he don't know. Just the thought that they're Palestinians, or in his mind that they're Palestinians, that was good enough to let off shots. and actually came to be it was Israeli people that he was actually shooting. So in this climate where you got Trump, who's showing to have more allegiance to Israel, and the utter hate that's happening towards Palestinian people, again, it comes to comes back to this whole situation where you have the uncommitted movement, not going for the Democratic Party or Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, and now we're stuck with Trump and his whole Gaza plan to pretty much take over the Strip, Gaza Strip, and you have people that are here that are also being hateful to everybody. Everybody just seems to be hating everybody. The whole thing is a mess. MD, what do you think about this story? Someone just going after people he perceived to be Palestinian.
Yeah. First, before I go, there may be a issue going on with StreamYard, Venkat, because it's not letting me turn my camera back on for some odd reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it may
Do
be
you think?
StreamYard.
Do you think if you go off and then come back up, it might let you do it? Maybe.
Yeah, I ain't worried about it. I just wanted to because I know Ricardo having problems, so it may be
I think we're all
StreamYard
having
acting up.
problems. We're all having
Yes.
problems.
Yeah. So in this instance, again, I didn't know about this story, but it lets you know again. First of all, the stupidity of a lot of people. See, here's the thing that people commonly mistake, that somehow ethnicity equates to race. It does not, like, at all. You know what I'm saying? Um, we know that by definition of what we call, and I don't want to say it because I know, Trev's sensitive to like wording, but certain ethnicities in the Middle East are commingled, not only in the facet of biology, but also culturally. You know what I'm saying? And what we distinguish as an ethnic Jew is a myriad of people. That's just a fact. The fact that and I'm gonna guess this guy was probably a MAGA maniac. I hate to assume, but hey, it's
Might be a safe
2025.
guess.
So this person doesn't know how to distinguish between the two, race and ethnicity. So this is one of the most ironic things. You shoot at somebody because you believe they one thing, but they actually the thing that's actually ethnically cleansing the thing that you trying. Hey, that's ironic, like real ironic. You know what I'm saying? So again, man, this is gonna linger for, in my opinion, based on what just happened in the last election. This is gonna linger for at least a decade. People are they're imbued with some type of feeling of almost divine duty of what Trump has represented for a certain amount of people in the country, even to the point where they blindly taking homage to the title of the program tonight, blindly follow despite what truthful factors may be entailed within whatever situation it may be. This ain't going away, like, at all. As a matter of fact, over the course of several years, it's probably going to get amplified. This would have went great with the original title of tonight's show. Venkat did a juke move and went to another, but that's fine. but that's fine. It still goes with the title based on the fact that, again, this shows blind allegiance to a figure, not a system, not an ideology per se, but a person, and that's just what it is. Because again, these people feel like they are the downtrodden, they are the oppressed for whatever reason, through falsehoods and undistinguishable narratives. You know what I'm saying? So It's put him up under the jail. It is what it is. Somebody else will take his place, though. Believe you me.
All right, thanks, MD. Ricardo, what do you think about this story here with the man shooting on people he thought or perceived to be Palestinian?
It's Twilight Zone mixed with cluster effing lunatics that it makes no sense. Like, how do you misinterpret who it is that you think the person was to then only for it to turn out that the people that you this doesn't make any sense. I heard about this story sometime today. I believe it was like kind of like breaking news. It was very interesting just to hear it come up. But it's sad all around because we've come so far to then go back into this place where it's just nonsensical. It makes no sense. This is worse than that story when that you remember that I think it was last year when they had that guy that either he shot or he stabbed some kid because the kid was Palestinian, and it turns out to be some redneck looking dude, like an old guy. It's like, and I think he's down south here too, if I'm not mistaken. Or it could be up north. I can't remember. But these are the kind of nonsense that people are doing. As for why that how does it make sense? Like, how does that benefit you to then target somebody that you think is Palestinian? First of all, like, you do realize, and this is the same thing that I was talking about, a couple weeks ago in the show, when you're here talking about how they're going to relocate Palestinians and they're going to do all of this stuff. You do realize there's a plethora of people that look Palestinian that are actually, Israeli people that were born in the actual country that is Palestine. Their passport reflects the fact that they were born in Palestine, even though they're Israeli, and vice versa. So how are you going to distinguish between the two? And that's the issue that we're getting here, is that we're getting to the conflatedness of people going, if that's even a word, the conflation of people going, oh, because and I blame you, the Muslim group that decided to, oh, we're going to align with Trump, for the election. Now they're doing the walk back, talking about, oh, we don't support neither Democrats nor we support Republicans. It was just for somebody to get the needle moving again. Who do you blame now? Because when Trump says he's going to be moving Palestine and having these people go to either Egypt, Jordan, or wherever else in the Middle East, we all know, because we all, on the show, we know certain things when it comes to politics. That ain't gonna fly. It's not gonna fly with Russia. It's not gonna fly with Saudi Arabia, which, again, oil comes into the question here. So who is benefiting from all this nonsense? Because it doesn't make sense. Megamaniacs, make it make sense in your head. When he's telling you all these things and you guys are willfully walking blind with, like, what was that story that we grew up in knowing when we were kids? The piper with the pipe, blowing the pipe, and they all got hypnotized by the music and they all just wildly follow behind him. What
The
are y'all?
Pied Piper?
Right. What are we doing here? Like, this makes no sense. It makes no sense. It like, I'm trying to make rational sense of all of this. It just doesn't make sense. But again, this is what y'all voted for, and I hope in the end you guys don't complain, talk about, oh, the country went downhill. You had a choice to vote, and this is what you all vote for. It's not like you didn't know what he was coming in with. You saw it the first time around. This is just amplified 2.0, if we're going to even go there, 5.0, because it's the whole manifesto of the Project 2025, which they all claim they didn't know, or especially him. Talk about, I have no idea what they're talking about, and yet it's still manifesting in front of us. So y'all needed to do your homework. You all needed to, just like a project, you needed to know the who, what, when, where, and why. Now I'm hearing walkbacks from people like the people that are in Kentucky talk about, oh, well, and that's a whole other thing we need to get into, MD, because Mitch McConnell and Trump and Musk are in this internal fight with the old school vanguards of the Republican Party. And I believe it stems from, not to go off topic, but it stems from, his sister-in-law dying in a Tesla car. If you've heard, did you hear that story, MD? I'm not sure if you heard that one, where,
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Mitch is just, he's hell-bent. And mind you, after Nancy Pelosi, I believe Mitch McConnell is the second most influential and affluential politician in Washington. That makes sense. I think Nancy Pelosi has maybe $120 million to her name. Mitch is probably around the 95 million, 75 million mark. So that's to show you how powerful he is. And as for what he does for Kentucky, nobody knows, but that's a whole other story. But Musk, Trump, and him are in this trifecta argument of like, oh, I'm not going to listen to what you're doing. I'm not going to support your nominations. And they're going, oh, well, we're going to do so and so and blah, blah, blah. So it's like new versus old school. And it's like the old school or new class versus old class. Remember that last time when we had like the Marjorie Taylor Greene and what's her name? Ocasio? What's her name? The Democratic one that we always talk about.
AOC.
All of them. That it's like this whole. You need to fall in line with the Pelosi's, and then you have him. Mitch McConnell is like, oh, I'm getting old, but this is how we used to do it back in the day with the old school way. It makes no sense. Somebody needs to take initiative here and say, all right, y'all coming in, you did state this is what you're gonna do in the election run, all of that, but give us a time frame of like spreading things out. Don't just like come in and then immediately start acting. It doesn't work like that. You're getting into sensitive information here pertaining to all of us. Like all our sensitive information pertaining to us is being, I guess, looked into by people that are not even supposed to be there. I don't understand how does Musk fit into this picture? And my conspiracy theory in all of this is that they're stashing across the board to then say they're gonna, get the budget right and all of that. But who's to say? And again, I said this last week to you, MD. Who is policing who here? Because at the end of the day, if Musk comes in with all these contracts that he's had, and I said this from when the election night went into play, where I'm like, so with all the contracts that Musk have, who is the pushback in terms of who's investigating him and what is going to be going on when he comes in and say, oh, well, I have an idea for DOJ or whatever you want to call this damn stupid department. How about I bring in my technology to then put in for the FAA? And what if I put in my technology to do this? Who is the pushback here? Why is it that nobody's seeing anything in terms of all of that? But they're so quick to be like, oh, but it's just the start of his inauguration. It's just the start of his tenure as president. Again, this is what, week 7, I believe. I don't even know which week we're in now with him coming into as president. I'm confused as for what I'm seeing here, because usually you give an ample amount of time to put everything into perspective. This is a lot all at once, and it's terrifying to me because with all these crashes, with all these government people being laid off, going out of losing work and all this stuff, then the price of inflation coming back. And if we remember well, MD, what actually sunk Biden, if you remember, just put on your tinfoil hat here for a second. What killed Biden in the end? Just say that word. What is it that took him out?
What do you mean? You talking about his presidency?
Yes. What in the
inflation?
Inflation. It's what's creeping back into the picture here. So I'm confused as for why everyone thought for a second, oh, Trump is gonna come in and he's gonna curb inflation. Bullshit. You guys know better. We all spoke about this. If we're now going into this whole tinfoil hat thing, inflation never went away. In fact, it's steeping even higher now. So I think from what I've been told sometime this week, if it even pinches even higher, we're in a doom fuck for a year, because eggs is going up. With him doing a tariff war with Canada and the rest of us, in being weighted into winter here, because we're still in winter, and winter has been brutal this year. If lest we forget, we saw snow in Florida for the first time, so in the longest time. What happens now when the price of cars go up? Because it's aluminum we're talking about here. Steel is going up. What happens to canned goods and all this stuff? Inflation never went away. So I'm confused with the voters here as for why we thought, oh, Trump is going to come in and fix inflation. It never left. It was there and it's still here. So the price of eggs going up doesn't surprise me, because it wasn't like we weren't told eggs was going to go down in price. But we saw this the first time around when he came in 2018. It's like deja vu all over again. So I'm confused. What is the narrative here? Who is policing who? Why are we so shocked by all of this? Nothing makes sense, but we kind of saw the template in the beginning which is deja vu all over again. So for you MAGA maniacs, make it make sense to me, because y'all going on and on about inflation, but eggs is going back up again. Bird flu is around the corner. Now they had to kill a dog or a cat the other day because it's now spreading into other animals. So that's a cause for concern. We're slashing CDC people. So I don't know who's policing that. Nothing makes sense here. But y'all make sense. So y'all tell us, the people that been in the know for so long, how this is gonna progress into the year. Because if this is the shit show of what we're expecting, and we didn't even add gas price into this yet, make it make sense. I need a MAGA maniac to come up to the panel or step forward and say, in your head, in your logical view, how does all of this make sense? Because if inflation was the issue as for why Uncle Joe left or had to be defeated, and then here comes Trump saying all this, spewing all this narrative that he was spewing, how is it that the inflation is now creeping back into the picture, and now y'all are like, oh well, he still have a little bit more time? No, we don't have time. We're in the first quarter. We're going into almost the second, and we're not even the close step to the second quarter yet. But we can't even have this. The economy depends on a lot of things. We can't even afford for it to crash this year. This is you see what I'm saying? Like, nothing makes sense. But I digress because I'm babbling, I'm going on and on. But yeah, it's going back to the Palestinian thing. Like MD said, I'm surprised you didn't even heard about it today. Y'all need to stop this foolishness where you think somebody looks like somebody, or they look like a particular segment of a group or population. Y'all don't know. My professor always say in college, if you don't know, don't assume. I would rather you ask the person going, are you Palestinian? Let them answer, because they're patriotic as hell. Everybody's patriotic. They would tell you flat out, of course I'm Palestinian, or they would have a pin or a flag. Why would you then go on a shooting spree? You could have literally killed 2 people who are literally Israeli citizens at that. How does that benefit you in the end? Like, how does that make you sleep? How does that put food on your table? I'm confused with all of this foolishness that I'm seeing going on, but this is the world of MAGA maniacs and all these people that brought them into the fold. This is what we're getting because y'all decided to run with the Pied Piper of him blowing up the big pipe horn, and y'all following behind the foolishness that we're seeing now. So, like I said last year, don't complain when it comes crashing and burning. I guess I'm almost on the fearless side because I want to see it all crash and burn and then see, I told y'all so. But I can't afford that because in the end, I go by Constitution, which I'm hoping comes into picture and play here at some point with the rest of the idiot Republicans that are sitting there afraid to say something or do something because they're afraid to lose their spots. But let me just stop. Go ahead, Venkat, because I was rambling on and on. But this is crazy. This is nuts.
Yep. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Ricardo. So when you ask Donald Trump, about all the promises that he made and how he's going to get rid of inflation and whatnot, Donald Trump will reply, he doesn't know what you're talking about. He doesn't know who said all that.
I didn't know Manafort well. He wasn't with the campaign long.
I don't know Papadopoulos. I don't know him. I saw him sitting in one picture at a table with me. That's the only thing I know about him.
I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact.
I don't know him very well. I have not spoken to him much. This is not a man I know well. Seems like a nice guy, though.
What? I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what Project 2025 is or who's behind it. Posting this on social media, quote, I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them, end quote.
I don't know her.
Complete deniability on Donald Trump. Complete deniability. He don't know anything is going on. He don't know anybody that's doing anything. He don't know anything. All right. So we got this week the debut of MD's segment on TFP in conjunction with Thoughtbox Live. Check it out on the MD20 YouTube channel every Thursdays at 8:30. Or every Thursday that MD is able to do it at 8:30. So, with that being said, MD, I think it's time to go to the new segment. and the downfall.
Let's do it.
MD20.
Peace.
Every generation, there is one who is raised up, one who is immune to the pressures of the collective, one who is given the true interpretation of law, one who has been given the vision of our political future, a political prophet amongst men. MD's Thought Box Live, in conjunction with Taped Fist Politics, presents The Downfall.
Yeah. So, and what I want everybody to understand, both on the left and the right, is maybe we are individual human beings and we are not born with an ideology that fits pre-existing buckets.
You don't say. Populism, a political philosophy or movement that represents or claims to represent the interests of ordinary people, especially against the establishment. That's according to the Merriam-Webster definition. Populism has a storied history in the United States, with many iterations. Yet today, we categorize populism based off political leanings. Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian has taken a lot of heat because of their supposed sway to the right. But does that actually play a role in their populist ideals? From an ideological standpoint, what takes priority? The social or the economical? Does populism take into consideration the particular cause for the effect? Or does it blindly seek to change the effect without much care for the cause? The earliest form of populism in the United States was a political party known as the Know-Nothings. Theoretically speaking, they are literally the progenitors of the MAGA movement. They were against immigration and Catholicism, and gained popularity from potential constituents because of their focus on Protestant white oppression during the rise of the abolitionist movement of the early 1860s. They eventually fizzled out while seeing the writing on the wall when it came to the question of slavery. Then came the Greenbacks, the earliest form of the Populist Party in 1874. Mainly consisting of farmers, the Greenbacks were a labor party that fought to bring back the fiat system after the U.S. reverted back to the bullion standard after the Civil War. They understood that the fiat system was more worker-friendly. According to them, it controlled prices and they were able to pay back debt easily. They were the first to call for an 8-hour work week and form unions. Now here is where it gets good. The official Populist Party was formed in 1892. They further pushed the 8-hour work week, fought for the right to form unions, exposed executive corruption at the height of the Gilded Age, and incorporated women into the party. That being the earliest political signs of women's suffrage. One group of people they didn't incorporate was Black Americans. For the sake of not being quote-unquote unpopular to the majority whites in the North, they chose to keep a focus on economic issues that were all-encompassing. I wonder where I heard that from.
And all of those issues, all right, we are going to deal with mass incarceration. And we're going to invest. I think at the end of the day, if we end the discrimination that exists in financial services, in healthcare, in education, if we guarantee healthcare to all people, if we, and we're working on a particular program, make sure that every person in this country has a job, because there's enough work to be done dealing with climate change, dealing with our crumbling infrastructure, I would suggest to you that not only the African American community, but every community.
Some Fringe Party leaders even supported Jim Crow laws in the South. Throughout the history of the country, we've had a myriad of figures that ideologically pushed populism. From Congressman William Jennings Bryan, the original America First guy, to Huey Long, the Louisiana governor that pushed for workers' rights and actually was successful in centralizing some programs like education in the 1920s, to Father Coughlin, who essentially created the persona of the right-wing talk show host long before Rush Limbaugh, Neil Bortz, or Sean Hannity. And of course, George Wallace.
And I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow and segregation forever.
All of these people, all of these figures have different perspectives, different strategies. But one thing remains constant amongst all of them: popular opinion. See, the left is mad at TYT not for their stance per se, but in reality, they're upset with the consistency of TYT's cause. The effect never changes despite what ideology you have. That's just a fact. What do you mean, MD? Well, populism isn't something that is set in stone, at least not the cause, right? Think of it like this. Everybody's trying to get to a destination. You got several people trying to get there. Everybody's traveling different routes, taking different modes of travel. You got your bus, your train, plane, car, whatever the situation may be. The popular take is everybody should get to this particular destination. But obviously, because everybody is traveling in different ways, there's a gripe that the different people have. Maybe there's traffic. Those people are mad at the ones that are holding up everybody in traffic. Maybe there's a flight delay. One mode of travel is more expensive than the other mode of travel, and everybody can't travel that way. Populism is the effect. Everybody feels as though they should all be afforded the same travel to the same destination, except for the people that caused the delay. Corruption, racism, isolationism, that's the cause. Some populists will choose simply to ignore the cause because they know that amongst themselves, if they refute the cause, the populists will rise up against them. So they say nothing and focus on the effect. In conclusion, the Young Turks have always stood on the principle of populism, an idea that the establishment is willfully conspiring against the people through nefarious means. They've been consistent on that. Never have they used a particular grievance to articulate that effect, nor have they denied the existence of other populist movements. In reference, during the Obama years, two populist movements rose out of frustration of the system. One was the Tea Party, which cited an overabundance of government, high taxes, and unfair federal oversight, rebelling against the establishment. The other was Occupy Wall Street, a resistance from the 99% who championed for a redistribution of wealth, less corporate subsidies, and better labor laws, rebelling against the establishment. Same effect, revolutionary change in government, though they had different causes. I'm not here to advocate for what the Young Turks are doing. That's not my position. I'm merely stating that populism has always led to a resistance in the forms of certain grievances. And those grievances are usually put in bad faith.
I do have to give you guys credit for a revolution well done. And what I mean by that is not a revolution against the Democratic Party or the left or the country, but a revolution against the establishment.
From the plebeians in Rome, to the fascists in Italy, to the Nazis in Germany, and now to the MAGA maniacs here in the United States of America. How is it possible that we can have these particular grievances and yet stand on different principles politically? The fact of the matter is that when it comes to populism, it may not be so popular.
All right, there we go. There we go. The first edition of The Downfall by MD20. That was amazing. That was amazing. I love the cutting video, the information, the facts, well paced. Awesome. MD, the floor is yours, first of all.
Yeah, so first of all, let me say thank you to giving me the opportunity to do this. And you know, my position is to be as consistent as possible doing these videos. But there was really no need for me to highlight certain things that Chinker Anna has done. It really wasn't a point. We did a iteration of that last week with the lame duck. So I wanted to focus more on the philosophy of populism in and of itself. And I posed a question to y'all. I said all the talking that I need to do in the video. How is it possible to have a quote unquote populist movement running congruent with each other? Well, let me say not congruent, parallel with, if you use the example of Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party, which were grassroots populist movements that ran parallel with each other during the Obama years. How was it possible to identify those as populist movements when they weren't necessarily as the aggregate popular amongst one group or the other? I'm saying populism in and of itself is not based on what we view as popular opinion. That's just false, categorically. It's viewed upon a particular grievance. Now, that grievance may be popular amongst whatever ideology you may have. What I'm saying is, like we talked about last week, a true populist doesn't go by ideology, like Chink said in the beginning of the video. You go by a resistance against whatever system or establishment you perceive to be the villain in the particular play. So what's y'all take on that?
Carter, you want to go first?
Sure. So your question that you posed to us was, what's our viewpoint on populism? And
pretty much, yeah.
See, the thing is, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm saying it how I want it to be interpreted. So, when it comes to the populism movement, like for instance, when we saw the rise of the Tea Party, even though it's been around for quite some time, that was a very confusing movement to me when it came about, because I'm like, okay, so what was the whole premise of the Tea Party? Was it because you're opposing, the incoming Democratic president, who was Obama, who happens to be black, with his I guess his ideology? Because remember, when President Obama came in, he was against gay marriage. He was against a number of things, but somewhere along the lines that changed for him. So I guess in some ways he was a very popular, very enamoring president, so to speak. And they didn't like what the new rise was gonna. I don't know. It was very weird and confusing for me. Maybe I might have misinterpreted them along the way, but it's just the whole idea of the Tea Party coming in, saying that, the country needs to be this in this particular way. It felt to me like it was like, things are changing and we're not sure if we could keep up. But then they were like, we're going to be inclusionary. We're going to include some people of color. Because I remember that was the other thing that confused me with them too. They have 4 people in the party, if I remember well. There was like a representative from, I don't want to misquote, I think one was from Minnesota, one was from Georgia, another one was somewhere in the mix. And it was like, okay.
The only Tea Party, like if you're talking about people that was in Congress, it was a bunch of them, but the ones that were prominent were, like, you had Rand Paul, you had Joe Walsh. He actually got to Congress based on the Tea Party.
I remember and there was a girl with
yeah.
She had flats or something like that in her head or her hair. She was like a black lady from somewhere. I remember her too, but she never got reelected after that whole thing when she got it.
A lot of those Tea Party people, they got taken out pretty much.
Yeah, there was that, but that's the question that I posed. Like, that's what I'm trying to understand. What was the premise of them to begin with? Because if it was the thing that they had against Obama in general.
Obamacare was their big thing.
It was the ACA. It was if we just talking about government, it was a myriad of things that the Tea Party. It was the ACA. It was the gay marriage issue.
That was one of the big
things.
It
was DACA. It was a host of things that the Tea Party. Hell, I would argue that the birtherism claim started with the Tea Party. Yeah. That's just a fact. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes,
it started with the Tea Party.
Yep.
So again, it was a host of different grievances that the Tea Party had. A lot of it was based in falsehoods, and the arguments were put in bad faith. That's just a fact.
And Rick Scott came out of that time too, running in Florida at the time, governor. Rick Scott came in with that Tea Party wave, and it was horrible. It was horrible because it's a great point you made, MD, about the populist movement is not necessarily popular.
No.
Not necessarily about anything popular, because they were railing against Obamacare, but if you poll all these people, they love the ACA. So I don't know. I thought it was a self-defeating movement. I thought it was misguided.
It never makes sense.
Yeah, I think even Occupy Wall Street, the Occupy movement. I was 100% with it, but like they didn't go anywhere with it, and they didn't stay. That's the problem with these movements. They may have a thing or two to make you latch on,
Ding, ding, ding.
but like the devil in the details, and how you're going to implement it, and are we going to stay consistent and locked in? That's the key, and that's the problem.
And they lose you the way too, because they also almost got me. I think the Tea Party almost got me with this whole, okay, well, the government is involved in everything. You know what I mean? They get you somewhere, and then they lose you in the mix. It's like, oh, but then this and this and this is the way we go for it. I'm like, but then if you do that, then what's the next objective to what you're? So it didn't make sense for me. So I was trying to follow along with them. They almost had me with the whole gay marriage thing, and then everything else just fell apart. And I'm like, but then they fizzled out of nowhere. They just fizzled out. And that one leader, what was that guy, MD, that we now see in the fold now complaining about, oh, where's the opposition? Where's everybody that's supposed to be saying, we need to put a stop to Elon Musk and all of them people. He's also the reason why the Tea Party came about from that time that he was there. I can't remember his name now. He's a black Republican guy, if you remember his name. He's now in the news a lot. Can't remember his name right now.
Michael Steele?
Yes, him.
Yeah, because Michael Steele was the head of the RNC at the time.
That friggin' guy now want to sit there and complain about, oh, how comes nobody's saying anything? You're partly responsible for what we're seeing now because you allowed this foolishness to come into play. You were the head of the Republican Party. You were literally there when this whole nonsense came about with the Tea Party, the Occupy Wall Street, all of them. You were there with the fringe group. So now,
yeah, but Michael Steele is going to say, well, I'm a Republican through and through, and what these guys are doing is some other bull.
No.
And I'm not down for that. So he's a never Trumper type dude right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is.
Yeah, but he's not gonna. That won't fly though, because then you were a part of that whole movement because you were there when it started taking place. Why didn't you say something then when you realized they were going off the hinges? And because everybody knew what they all stood for. They were against certain policies. So for you to come in now and go, oh, well, why are we sitting back and allowing Elon Musk to get away with all this stuff? What do you expect them to be doing? Like, we're not the Democratic Party is not the majority anymore. They're the minority. So if it's an all-led majority, which is the Republican Party and a Republican president, even though we know he's not conservative enough, what do you then want the opposition to be doing other than chanting and going about doing roadblocks?
So one of the things,
Republicans would never say that. Republican in the minority would never say what you just said.
Exactly. Because when Obama had all branches of government, they did everything to stall, slow down, manipulate, and just throw all his agenda as off as they could. That's why Obamacare isn't as potent as it was originally intended, due to their tampering and shenanigans and whatnot. So that's what he's looking for. He's looking for kind of the left's version of obstructionism.
Yeah, that exactly 100%, Van Cat. What they now tout as calling them resistance liberals, there really isn't a resistance to. There isn't, at least not right now. It's not. You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
You can argue or have a case that, okay, we should let the courts decide what Trump is doing is constitutional or not. which why I would agree to a certain parameter. But that don't take away from the message. And I'm glad you bringing up this, Ricardo, because it goes and segues directly into what I'm gonna be talking about this Thursday on Thoughtbox Live, the truth about the messaging of Democrats. Is there an issue? And when we talk about what the Republicans were able to do during the Tea Party movement, because again, the Tea Party didn't sprout out the party. The Tea Party sprouted out of the people. The people created the Tea Party. And the Republicans took advantage of it and was able to make a movement as you know, we talk about full control Obama had in 2008. And the people, and you know, I guess you would say the progenitors of the MAGA maniacs was like, hell no. And they went to the streets. Rand Paul took advantage of it.
Yep.
Up into a point where he became a presidential candidate based on it fizzled out and he crashed violently to the ground. You know what I'm saying? But he was their representative from a federal standpoint. And then you had actual Congress people that were able to get in seats in Congress based on Tea Party support. So I'm not going to downplay everything that they did. Again, but it was in bad faith. Much of what Occupy Wall Street did in bad faith. That's just a fact. They had I guess you would say a just cause, but as far as being able to coincide with legislation, they couldn't do it. And what was crazy, Occupy Wall Street officially, what was that? 2011, 2010,
Yeah,
2011.
yep. That's the time period. Yep.
So even at that point, we talking about past the midterms, and you couldn't garner any support from legislation like the Tea Party did, because a lot of that stuff was put in bad faith, whether it was a just cause or not. So I just wanted to show how the Tea Party and how Occupy Wall Street paralleled each other. We both called them quote unquote populist movements, but really were they popular? How can you have two separate populist movements and then claim that these are popular opinions based on policies that you want as it pertains to the overall growth of people versus the establishment? Even though both movements claim to be against the establishment, it's contradictory at the end of the day. That's what I wanted to point out. And I'm saying that the Young Turks understand that we can't play into the contradictory statements that other people make in popular movement. We're going to stay consistent in what we say. Look, we are against the establishment. Whether it's left leaning or right leaning is not, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? If you're going against what we perceive as the establishment, that's what we're going to rock with. And that's exactly what the Young Turks did.
Yeah, but there is a difference in the energy right now. There's a clear difference right now. I understand what you're saying, like, you know, they're against anything that's not on their wavelength as far as what they want or perceive to be the right way to go about things legislatively in the government. But the Young Turks, the way that they're bending the knee to the Donald Trump, and again, would they be doing all this rubbing of shoulders with Republicans and whatnot? And it's not a bad thing to find common ground with Republicans, but I just think it's a little different than that, because we didn't see much of it beforehand, and then they went really double down all in after the win of Donald Trump. It's just the whole vibe of what Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian are doing. It's undermining everything.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me? You can hear me, MD?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He said he couldn't hear me. Yeah, but it's just a very different tone that's hard to ignore, especially if you've been watching them for a while, like I have. I just it's almost similar to Morning Joe, but to me, what they're doing is way more troubling than Morning Joe. Morning Joe just look like clowns, but Young Turks supposed to stand for something. They're supposed to be about something. Like when you hear them talk about civil rights issues, things that have to do with things of races that are not them, but they fight for it as hard as it is them. It's something you can get behind. And like right now, I can't get behind what they're doing.
So
Let me
so
try
let
to
me
get.
ask you so let me ask you this question then. Would you consider what the Young Turks are doing right now that they're doing it simply out of spite of the Democratic Party?
Out of spite of the Democratic Party?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, right now the consensus is the Democrats are broken. They have no leadership, no
I mean,
direction.
even before then, because the Young Turks been
Oh,
pushing
they were
hard on the
criticized.
Democrats for a while, for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, they criticized Joe Biden, and I don't mind that part. And call out what's wrong. I don't think we need to be yes men on everything. Like when you talk to a Trump supporter, like they will not like acknowledge any of the most basic things. That's very frustrating. So when you catch Joe Biden doing something ridiculous or Kamala Harris or whoever, yeah, you should call them out at the end of the day. And I do appreciate when they call into like for instance, Josh Hawley. They highlighted one of the last things I saw from them before I unsubscribed. They were talking about Josh Hawley working with Bernie Sanders, trying to get legislation to stop the big credit card companies from, pretty much um, um, holding down retailers because they get like this huge. It's like a little amount. I don't know if it's like 10 cents every transaction when you swipe or something like that.
Yeah.
But the market share is like egregious because they control pretty much the transactions on credit cards where no other credit card company can. Visa,
Yeah,
Visa,
yeah.
MasterCard.
It's a transactional monopoly where
Yes,
you can only like where they say this particular card accepted, blah. Yeah.
right.
Now remember, Josh Hawley was also one of the co-authors of the bill that put a cap on the minimum fees of credit card.
Right. And for them to point that out is good. That's one of the reasons why I watched them. Because it wasn't like when you watch Fox News, Joe Biden could have saved a kid from a burning car. And that would have never they would have had their whole rundown for the day, and that would never come across that desk.
Now, but Josh Hawley is a megamaniac, though.
I know that. And the fact that they would highlight what he does right, because it's politics at the end of the day. So politics is not about being this really goody good guy or this really, really, really bad guy. It's about political opportunity and taking advantage of a thing to get the bigger thing that you want done. Sometimes you got to take a step back. Sometimes you got to take a step forward. But people don't understand that. They just look at everything as, oh, that's really bad that he did that.
Well, I'll push back
It's a
on
politics.
right. I push back on this one particular point as it pertains to the credit card utilization when it comes to the exclusivity.
Yeah.
That was Biden's agenda. So I'm not looking at it right like as Josh Hawley said, oh, I have this particular passion about what I feel about the
I
people.
get that.
I'm not saying that he don't. Probably a part of him does. But that was Biden's agenda. Biden ran on capping minimum fees on credit cards. He ran on this stuff. It so happened he went the right way about it as it pertains to making it law, going through Congress. And I want to bring up that comment that what Thinking Black said about the parliamentarian. That's a great question because if we're looking at it versus policy versus what the agenda of everybody else is, Trump is not doing any of this stuff. So it's not per se pushing an agenda for the people. He's pushing his own agenda via executive order. That's one of the reasons. And he knows if he goes to the parliamentarian, the parliamentarian is going to tell him, look, like, you can't do that. Hell,
Yeah.
I'm surprised they ain't try to figure out a way to get rid of him.
Right.
To be honest, you know what I'm saying? So I commend what Josh Hawley did, just using that as an example, but that wasn't Josh Hawley's steezo per se. That was biting the agenda.
But
He said, "Hey,
he
look,
still,
this is what I want. This is what I want to do," and Hawley co-authored it. Go ahead.
yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But he'll still get points from me to the fact that he had the integrity enough to latch on to it. Whereas a lot of times we see the votes on these voting party line bullcrap. 50 Democrats in the Senate, 50 Republicans in the Senate. We see that all the time, that party line vote nonsense. So for him to step away from where the party's at and go with what he feels is right, even if it meant latching on to a perceived quote unquote rival in the political game like a Joe Biden, he still did it. So he gets points from me for doing that. In the back right now, there's Truth in Telly. So I can't see the full name. If you can hear me here, if you could just put your camera on so we could see that you're an actual person and not a troll, and then we can let you up on the panel. That's for Truth in, I don't know what it's called. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna bring him up on the panel. Before I do that, Ricardo, any more words on the piece MD just gave us on the downfall?
Nothing really more to add other than with TYT, it again, like echoing the same sentiments that you said, Venkat. It feels very contrived that they're going about, including Morning Joe Peoples as well. They're going into this narrative of if you can't beat them, join them sentiment. Again, I question, going forward, what does that entail? So are you going to just blindly agree to everything that the administration or Trump is saying? Again, the populism thing it works up to a degree because you get people to be on your side up until a point. But what happens now when people start smelling the coffee and then go, oh, but this is affecting my bottom line, just like it did when they passed all these tax cuts the last time around. It affected my bottom line. So I can't, in good conscience and faith, go, oh, I'm going to support everything idly blind that you're telling me. Because at the end of the day, it affects everybody across the board. Again, the whole thinking and rationale of the DEI initiative of canceling it across the board, canceling the Department of Education. Now, if not to go off a tangent and just to wrap this up quickly, now they're saying today that if there's any I don't know if you heard this, MD. They were saying going forward, anybody who was like, if you're getting, what do you call it? Not student aids, but what do you call those
Pell
others?
Grant.
The Pell Grants and all of that stuff. They're about to cancel them, and
Yeah, I heard that.
You can't say, oh, it's all Black Initiative grants or it's all Asian Initiative grants. All of that is now going to be taken away. So it's everybody across the board being the same, which I kind of understand in a logical sense. You can't exclude white people and all of that. But then what happens now? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is all getting muddled. So what goes forward now? Do everybody just sit idly blind and go, okay, well, the reason why we had grants to begin with was because Black people were at a disadvantage, or the Asians. Remember, all along the Asians were the one that created this whole thing with the Department of Education, talking about Black people have been always getting an unfair advantage to get into college admissions. Now, when they're saying they're going to cut everything across the board, everybody's dead silent. So my thing now with the Morning Joes and the TYTs, are you going to step up and say, okay, well, the whole reason why all of these things came into play is because one group complained about one thing, but we're inclusionary, so we have to include everybody in the mix. So then, that's my whole thing with the contrivedness of them going along with the, if we can't beat Trump, we're going to join him instead of complaining about him all the time. We're not saying you don't complain all the time, but we're saying when he says certain things, you call it out. Just like when we saw in the piece with Venkat showed, oh, I have no recollection. I have no idea. That just because you said it, they literally is showing it in front of you, sir. What you're talking about? There's no alternative facts crap here. You literally said this, And then now you're gonna say, "Oh, I don't know. I never remember." And then get your
Well, that's
pen.
just gaslighting. That's a gaslighting.
But
Now I
that's what.
don't even like count that.
But that's what I'm saying, though, MD. When are people gonna start calling him? You know, because we can't do this again going forward in the second term, this second administration with him. It's either we're gonna say, listen, at some point in time, sir, you do remember because we're bringing this video up and we're showing you literally here at such said place, time, year. This is you. So who is this in the video? Is this not you, or is this a multiple personality person that you picked, you know, in your brain and you just forgot and have brain fog about? Like, this is where I need the TYTs and all of them to step up, but we're not going to see that anymore because they don't want to lose their license. They don't want to lose this. They don't want to fall out with Trump. Nobody wants to do. It's like, why are we so terrified here? We're in a democracy, although MD would, you know, beg to differ. But we're in a country where, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of all of that, it comes into play. Why are they so terrified to stand up to this one guy that we know what he's like? We know who he is. So that's where me and Van Cat step in and say, well, TYT ain't doing diddly squat no more because now they're on, you know, the Fox side and all of them, just to be on the sake of, oh, we want civility and peace. It's not about civility and peace. It's about calling him out on the BS that he says with all the lies, and then saying, hey, sir, at some point in time, you do have to take accountability into play here. But we're not going to see that because everybody's mortified and terrified and afraid of what I don't know. But that's all I had to add.
Well, we did lose the gentleman on the panel. So I did put the link back in the chat again if you wanted to try to come back up again. Maybe we've been having issues with the stream today, so maybe that's what happened.
Damn,
the link is in the chat.
Elon Musk doesn't like what we're seeing, so he's.
I know Elon is working overtime right now. Speaking of Elon, did you guys see the those young punks that he has working for his team at Doge? They call themselves Big Balls or something like that.
The people that
I don't know what the hell is that. Big Balls is what they call them. No, they call them. Well, one guy in particular, he's called Big Balls.
Yeah, I call them the
it's
Geek
crazy.
Squad. Is what I call them because that's exactly what they are, the Geek Squad.
Oh man, it's crazy, man. So there was a video I've been trying to play since we came back about a month ago. Trump's third term and the legislation that was proposed. It's a 4-minute video. Let's go ahead and look at that and have our thoughts on that in just a moment here.
President Trump and other future presidents a third term in office. Interesting question. During a rally in Las Vegas today, Trump jokingly mentioned serving a third term. This comes just days after a House Republican is seeking to pave the way for the president to do just that.
I didn't make any stops along the way. It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. Headlines from the fake news. Now it will be to serve twice. For the next 4 years, I will not rest. I will not yield. And together we will not fail. We will win, win, win. We will bring back the American dream. We're going to bring it back.
A congressman from the Republican Party is seeking to achieve what no other politician has ever thought of, to ensure that Donald Trump stays in the office for a third term. Republican Senator from Tennessee, Andy Ogles, has introduced a House joint resolution to amend the U.S. Constitution that would allow Trump to seek a third term. The proposed amendment reads, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than 3 times, nor be elected to any additional term after being elected to 2 consecutive terms, and no person who has held the office of president, or acted as president, for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice." Ogles said that amending the 22nd Amendment would allow Trump to serve 3 terms, ensuring that we can sustain the bold leadership our nation so desperately needs. But there's a catch in Ogles' amendment suggestion. Only those presidents can seek third term if their first 2 terms were non-consecutive. This means that former presidents George W. Bush, Obama, and Clinton can't run again as they had already served 2 consecutive terms. But it's not easy to pass such a resolution. It would need 2/3 of the vote in both chambers of Congress and be ratified by 38 states to become official. While the possibility of getting the mandated backing looks bleak, the move shows the level of allegiance Trump enjoys within the Republican members in the House. Ogles argues that it is imperative to provide President Trump with every resource necessary to correct the disastrous course set by the Biden administration. Ogles is not the only one who wants Trump to run for third term. The U.S. president had earlier joked about the possibility of a third term. In 2020, Trump told a Nevada rally,
And 52 days from now, we're going to win Nevada. And we're going to win 4 more years in the White House. And then after that, we'll negotiate, right? Because we're probably, based on the way we were treated, we're probably entitled to another 4 after that.
Trump again toyed with idea in November during a meeting with House Republicans. The 78-year-old remarked that the grand old party might want to do something that would somehow allow him to serve a third term in 2028. Similarly, in July 2024, Trump told his Christian voters that if they voted for him, they wouldn't need to vote again.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed, it'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Notably, some people who know Trump have opined that the 78-year-old leader might push for the amendment of U.S. Constitution. Former Fox News journalist Geraldo Rivera, who was friendly with Trump for decades in New York, predicted in December that Trump and his allies would soon turn their attention to the 22nd Amendment.
We got the ultimate bootlickers, Republicans in the House and the Senate. We got legislation being proposed. No good chance of passing, but just the fact that it comes up is absolutely ridiculous. This is not to be outshined by the fact that there's another Republican actually trying to make Donald Trump's birthday a national holiday. The bootlicking is real, people. The bootlicking is on fleek. All right. So, Ricardo, what do you think about the third term possibility of Donald J. Trump?
If we're gonna go by the Constitution here, and I don't know why we're entertaining this senile old fart that literally, I don't know why we're even going there, but since we're gonna go there, because we have to learn civics here and how it comes into play. Folks, please make sure your kids are at least involved in civics at some point, because for some reason I think a lot of people are failing to understand how civics work in terms of this country. It's called checks and balances. Like in the piece says, it won't fly. You know why? It has to get both sides of the chambers to agree to that. They're not gonna allow that. If it would have passed, it would have passed 2 years ago. It's not gonna happen on his watch. And if I should even go there to say the inevitable would happen, they will literally find ways to get him out. And when I mean out, you know exactly what I mean. It's absurd. The idea of him even thinking, and there's so many absurd things that I've heard him come up with, including trying to make, for one, Canada a 51st state. I don't know how that benefits you, because Canada is predominantly Democratic, so you still wouldn't win because they wouldn't vote for you. So that in itself just sounds, just stupid all around. With that being said, and not to mention that you have to then look into Britain coming into play here, because again, Britain, as much as Canada is an independent country now, there's a lot of British ties, and the royal family is technically Canadian, if a lot of people don't know that. So that's a whole other thing to question here that is going down a rabbit hole. With that being stated, I just don't understand why, because now, not only in addition to that, they want to make his birthday a holiday, they want to put him on Mount Rushmore, which in itself was a sacred land from the Aboriginals that have been here in this country for years. When they were told, they told them not to build on top of Mount Rushmore before. I think it was called something else before they called it Mount Rushmore, but this country does its own thing. The government does its own thing, and they got away with murder with that one. But yeah, they want to put his face on Mount Rushmore. That's not gonna fly either, because then you're gonna come in. You have to then take into account all the other presidents that came before him, and there's quite a few that did large accomplishments. I've yet to see what accomplishment he's really has done. I would even go as further to say at least Obama got rid of Osama bin Laden. You see what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that presidents have done accomplishment wise. What is it exactly have you done other than pass executive orders? So this whole notion of them putting him in the third term, I've heard him run on it during the campaign. Is not going to fly, sir. Again, a constitution that we've come to use or known for the past 300. I think aren't we heading into the 300-year mark? I think it's this. Is it this year or next year? The bicentennial
250.
is 350. God,
250.
it's yeah. So
250.
it's which year is it again? Is it 2026 or 2028? One of those years where the country turns
It's this year.
350 years, the 1776 until so yeah, it's coming up, and he's even making big plans for that too. I don't know why we're entertaining this man, but again, civics comes into play, the Constitution comes into play. Yes, you could do certain things with it, but it takes two sides, and again, that's where checks and balances come into play. Both sides of the chambers have to agree to that. I don't see that happening. Call me naive, call me whatever you want to call me. That's a part of me that knows that's where that comes in. But we've seen stranger things happen, but I just don't see that happening. Because if it would have fly, it would have flown by now. I mean, just like the healthcare, everybody would have had universal healthcare in this country. Had it not been for one of the Kennedys not agreeing to that, it would have flown years ago. In the 70s, it didn't. So again, I question all these moves, that the boot licking and the groveling and trying to kiss up and ass kiss and all of that. In the end, he's 78 years old. At to add 4 more additional years to that, that's senile territory. That's going into like how Reagan went into his term, going in very, very like frail. It was very incoherent and just didn't. At that point, I think they said it was the wife that was running the show. Do you guys want that? Like, he's not. Remember, he's the oldest president now in history in the White House. So what are we doing? Is this just to grovel, to ask us, just to then make a mockery, or like what is the whole point of this? Because I'm confused. But again, we're
You
entertaining.
see, you see that what you're saying with Trump is
Mm.
what I feel like with TYT, the groveling, the bootlicking. That's what I'm talking about. That's the same energy that I feel TYT gives off right
But
now.
what are they? But what the question that I have to ask about that though, Venkat, what are they gaining when doing that? Is that to just gain
I
favor?
don't know.
Because
I
it's
don't know. I
It's
just
not.
don't
It's not.
understand
It's
how you
not
can be
about what
sold
they
it.
gaining. It's not about what they gaining. It's about what they maintaining. And what they maintaining is their seat in Congress.
Boy.
I'm just keeping it
no,
real.
I got you. I got you.
So all right. So MD, what do you think here about a possibility of a third term? I mean, to be fair, the term thing is new. You know, it happened I believe the 1900s is when that 2-term stuff started happening. So before that, there were 3 terms, sometimes more. So it's not outrageous because we were there
Well,
before. But over time, they realized that it's not the best thing to do.
they changed the amendment, and Article 1, and then Article 2 was dealing with the presidency, and then. So I mean, I understand it. The fact of the matter is, yeah, to Ricardo's point, it's not happening based on the fact that it's got to be ratified. You know what I'm saying? And in order for it to be ratified, the states have to agree with it. I believe in Congress, it's got to be 2/3,
Correct.
and it's got to be 3/4 states
Correct.
to ratify it. That's never gonna happen, like at all. You know what I'm saying? So it's the shit is nonsensical at the end of the day. Like, why for people to even like make it newsworthy is problematic in and of itself.
But it
You
goes.
know,
But MD, it goes to show that people don't. It's either they're forgetting civics or they're not remembering it. Because even again, when you are being sworn in as a citizen, you have to literally learn all of this crap, and it's not crap, but you have to learn all of this stuff. So I'm confused why people were actually born here are now following along with this narrative and this nonsense. It makes no sense. It's checks and balances. There's a reason why it's called checks and balances. You see what I'm saying? But I'm confused why they're even allowing or entertaining this nonsense from him, as much as the Republicans are even allowing us to even go down that rabbit hole. It's not gonna pass. There's a reason why the founding fathers put that into play, to make sure that this doesn't happen. But again, when you incentivize the Supreme Court and all of them, that's where I'm now watching to see what they're going to be doing going forward, because you do have an obligation when you swore an oath, when you put up your hand to say you're going to defend the narrative of this country. That's where I'm going to start questioning going forward. Are these people going to then stand up and say to him, sir, even though you're saying it, this is what is in play here. This is how it works. Because we giving him the entertainment is one thing, but then reminding him, when you're in civics, when you're in school, they taught you checks and balances. This is why this is why you have 2/3. This is why the states have to agree. This is why all of that comes into play. I'm just confused why we're even entertaining this foolishness, but here we are. Why? I don't
I
get
mean,
it.
I get what you're saying, but it is a possibility. I mean, amendments can be repealed, amendments can be changed.
That is true.
I'm saying based on the fact that, you know, a lot of people just ain't going to agree to it. You know what I'm saying? It's possible. Anything possible. You know, from a legislative standpoint, but it's never gonna happen. Like, you know,
Well,
that just go ahead.
we also can't ignore the fact that, first of all, again, this is straight bootlicking at Classic 101 bootlicking. This is, hey, look, you see me, I'm doing something for you. Trump loves adulation. He loves to be adored. So that's why they're doing it. It's not because it could pass.
I disagree with that. I disagree with it.
I'm saying that, that's what they're doing. They're doing things to be like, who can be more Trumpy than the next one, and that may be consideration down the road for whatever they believe they can get out of this situation. It's all transactional here, but we cannot ignore the fact that that bastard put in there not just to do a third term, but to make it where no past president, Democratic president that's still alive, like an Obama or Clinton, would be able to benefit from it. So we're going to do it, but we're going to do it in a way where it's just uniquely to that one guy.
And that's why.
So,
Venkat, this is what I'm trying to tell you, though, Venkat. I agree with everything you just said. I'm not disagreeing. But what I'm telling you is, prior to all of this, Trump's team, people that are on his right side and his left side, told Republican policymakers that if you don't bend to the will of Trump in 2026 or whenever your seat is up, we're going to primary you. That's what they were told. A lot of people don't want to be primary, Venkat. That's what I'm saying. They live in high on the hog on Capitol Hill. They got a lot at stake when it comes to lobbyist groups, special interests. That's what I'm telling you, Venkat. So they say, "Oh, I better get my shit together, like now."
So MD,
Yes, sir, Mr. Trump.
They should be whores, then, is what you're saying. So they basically.
I ain't saying they should be. They are.
But pretty much they are whores. That literally just selling themselves the rabbit hole for.
Let me specify. Not just whores, battered and bruised whores. That if they don't meet quota at nighttime, they will be thrashed by their pimp. That's what I'm telling you.
Just horrible. They need backbones, man. I'm sorry, but it. I'm just in, because again, MD, if you look at the trajectory of how this plays out every single time this comes into play with an administration coming, let's just say hypothetically, there's a blue wave the next midterms. On account of what we know, the inflation is going to kick in, price of gas going to go high, steel is an issue, Ukraine and Russia and the negotiations of Ukraine being put out of the mix of things. Europe is now angry. Saudi Arabia coming to play. Like, let's just say hypothetically there's a blue wave. Then what? Because they're still going to be primary. Any way you look at it, they're going to get kicked out because people are fickle. They forget things. They remember certain things. They remember, the Roe versus Wade was kicked out. Women's rights was a thing, and they galvanized certain people, certain areas, and the Department of Education, if they decide to get rid of it, or income tax going away, which we all know is a farce because Uncle Sam makes a ton of money off income tax. I question the signaling of people going, oh, but I'm gonna get kicked out or be primary. Lest we forget, yes, that's the whole risk of you being in the position you're in, because it's politics. It's very unpredictable. One many people are, as long as the bottom line is, as long as people's money is not affected, or their food supply is not being cut short, or gas is too astronomically high, they're going to complain over whatever is affecting their bottom line. So if it's affecting them 4 years down the road, you're going to get kicked out, you whores that are in politics. That's just how it works. So I'm confused why people are like, oh, but we're so afraid of being, like how much time, and this is where we come into play, where we say there should be term limits. I'm not sure why but we all know why, but I'm not sure why we still have these people who have been in politics for how many goddamn years, still stuck being old and dying in politics. That's just crazy. Like, allow people, fresh blood, to come in, and then again, fresh blood who have sense and experience to come in and then start doing stuff. It's crazy in this country. I just know I don't get it. Call me naive, like my twin says. Like, you still have a little bit. You're still thinking that people have. Yeah, there's a little bit of inclination of hope in me, going, okay, maybe somehow people are gonna wake up, but again, this is the whistleblowing that we're hearing. The white nationalists, the evangelicals, all of them galvanized now because the puppeteer is in charge and he's doing all of these things that he promised, that I don't even think most of them is going to go into fruition. But I digress. We have to at some point admit that these whores that are in politics need to wake up and smell the coffee. People are fickle. There will be a blue wave, perhaps, maybe down the road 4 years from now, if we've seen the trajectory of what we're seeing now. People, voters vote. It's just it is what it is. But I digress. Sorry, MD.
Look, I'll just say this in closing. All of these Senate confirmation hearings that we've seen over the past few weeks is look no further than that. People who were definitive in saying that they weren't going to vote for a particular candidate, all of a sudden the next day, I'm a vote to confirm. Like, huh? Lisa Murkowski said she wasn't voting for no nominations that Trump had. Yet she voted for damn near all of them. I think the only one she didn't vote for was Hexel.
Yep.
Susan Collins.
Yep.
You don't think a conversation was had? That's what I'm telling you.
But
and hell, tonight it might be the dagger. Cash Mattel might get nominated tonight. Confirmed tonight.
Well, she's one of the worst candidates ever in the history.
But these people,
that guy's a liability.
Jesus. It is what it is, though. I understand what you're saying, MD, because I with her, when she voted, we're all thinking, but then they all have to fall in line. Remember, it's an all-led Republican establishment.
Yeah, they got to whip the vote. That's what you got to. That's why you have a whip in each chambers of the Congress. They're supposed to whip the votes. Look, this is what we need. What would you like for us to do? What bill do you want us to put to the floor? That's how you whip up votes. Those conversations are not being had by MAGA maniac legislation. That's what I'm telling you. The conversation that's had with MAGA maniacs is, hey, look, asshole, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, come 2026, and whenever your seat is up, we're going to put a candidate against you front line and center. And it's going to be MAGA. Now, what you think about that? That's what I'm telling you. And they say, oh, okay, my bad. Let me put my vote in now.
Yeah, I mean that's how politics is ran these days. It's very depressing. Not to mention, a lot of the times they're not even up there doing political work like you would think. The majority of their time up there is used to spend to raise campaign money, which is crazy. You would think they would be working for the American people, but the majority of a congressman or senator's time is raising campaign funds. All right,
you get rid of
switch
Citizens United. If you get rid of Citizens United, this will stop overnight. It'll stop overnight.
Oh yeah, 100%. But you know, the owners, as a famous comedian said, the owners of this country won't allow it. All right, so let's switch. I was going to save this video for a future episode, but I think we should do it. It bothered and troubled me, so I want to bring it to the panel to see what we think. So I don't have the video made, so we're going to go right to YouTube. So let me just switch on over. Give me 1 second.
Let me say peace to Patrick T and Blue in the building. Hey, shout out to them.
All right. Oh, damn it. Hold on 1 second. I want to.
Apologies, our funding was cut. From
Oh
our funding was cut. So
Times are hard out here, damn it. Times are hard.
Oh man, hold on. I got two of them. Hold on 1 second. All right, let's go here. Right there. Boom. Share. All right. All right. We're gonna play the video. Can you guys see it?
I see warning.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
They held a protest Monday night in response to the viral video showing a police officer using a stun gun on a handcuffed man. We want to warn you, you might find this video disturbing. After an exchange of words, the police officer pulls the trigger on the stun gun and then asks, "You want it again? No, shut the f up, you was big and bad." She could then be heard calling him an explicit name.
She tased him in the back, and she was holding it. She was just holding it there until he started crying.
Jalexis Rice, girlfriend of Micaiah Washington, says this all started when her boyfriend and two others were changing a tire of the car they were driving. She says that's when the officer in the video pulled up, eventually putting her boyfriend in handcuffs and tasing him.
When I seen it, I couldn't do nothing but cry. I couldn't do nothing but cry.
Following his arrest, Washington was booked into the Pickens County Jail on several charges. He has a bond of $500,000. In a statement, Reform's police chief and mayor said they're aware of the video and the police officer has been placed on administrative leave. However, people attending Monday's rally say they want more done.
She needs to be fired, and I feel like she can leave and go somewhere else and do it if they don't hold her accountable for nothing. You're a police. You're here to protect and serve us. How do we supposed to trust you and this how you treat us?
It hurt my feelings for real.
In the statement from the mayor and police chief, they said in part the department is in the process of turning over all materials related to this arrest to the Alabama State Bureau of Investigation and has requested a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the arrest.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news.
Well, tonight, the man seen on video, this video to be exact, being tased by a Reform police officer says he wants justice following the encounter. This now viral video of 24-year-old Micaiah Washington and Officer Dana Elmore was captured on Saturday. WVTM 13's Gladys Bautista spoke with Washington today about his experience and what justice looks like for him.
Here in Tuscaloosa, Micaiah Washington has been recovering at home mentally and physically nearly a week since his encounter with a Reform police officer that has since gone viral and been seen thousands of times across the country. He tells me he's still in shock that it even happened and has had a very hard time looking at that video. These taser marks on Micaiah Washington's back are now the daily reminders of what happened.
She racially profiled me. Basically, like from the start.
When Reform police officer Dana Elmore stopped to question Washington Saturday, asking for his ID as he tried to change a flat tire on the side of a road near his aunt's house with his younger brother.
She came off as soft at first until I started asking her questions of why you need the IDs. because we ain't doing nothing but changing the tire or whatever. And she was like, you just give me your ID and you go stand over there by my car. And I said, I won't, because I'm not under arrest. Like, I would let her know, like, I know my rights.
Washington says as he began to record her, the encounter turned physical.
That's when she tased me the first time, when I was trying to turn my camera on my phone. And that's when I fell down. And then that's when the other video started.
Washington was ordered to get up and walk to the car in handcuffs, letting her know he did have a gun he was legally carrying. The moments that came after, Washington says he still can't wrap his head around.
When she got that out, she got excited.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't see it. And then me screaming and stuff, like, it made me feel some type of way.
Washington was later taken to jail with a bond set at $500,000 for drug and weapons charges, while the fentanyl trafficking and firearm charges were dropped, with Washington saying there was no merit to them. He posted a $5,000 bond on Tuesday for 3 other charges he still faces, including resisting arrest, obstruction, and marijuana possession. Washington's attorney is now planning to file a $20 million lawsuit with the officer involved in Washington's arrest on administrative leave. Reform Police Department officials now say they're turning over all materials related to the arrest to the Alabama Bureau of Investigation, which will look into exactly what happened.
It ain't the money for me. Like, I just want justice. Like, cause it ain't no telling like how many other people that didn't happen to, like, and that didn't get to record.
Ma'Khia Washington's attorney tells me he expects that federal lawsuit to be filed within the next 30 days. In Tuscaloosa, Gladys Bautista, WVTM 13.
Okay, there it is. That video. So we'll go to MD first. MD, what did you think here about that video? It was I think over a year ago this happened. But what were your thoughts here on that?
Yeah, I remember this story. Can you hear me first and foremost?
Loud
I had
and
to switch over
Yeah,
to
we
my
can hear
phone.
you.
I don't know what the hell happened.
loud
It
and
just
clear.
kept booting me
Yeah,
up.
okay.
Okay, so yeah, I remember this story. Again, man, we gotta now in this situation, I'm not gonna necessarily say that person did anything wrong. They didn't. They was on the side of the road changing their tire. I mean, like, what do you want them to do at the end of the day? You got every right to ask, like, okay, what's the situation? Am I being detained? You don't have to give your ID to nobody. You got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you detained, then they do what they do at why you're detained. But you need to know why you're being detained. You need to ask, are you being detained? Other than that, keep it pushing. I'm not saying put yourself in a dangerous situation. No, of course not. The dude said, he want justice. Yeah, right. He once that taser hit his back, those tears were tears of joy, because he had dollar signs in his eye. I know I sure was there with him. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Yeah, it may hurt for a little bit, but you'll be okay. Once you call Ben Crump or whoever the hell, you know what I'm saying? But hey, because that's who I'm calling. I can't stand Ben Crump. Hey, Ben Crump, I need you down here in Alabama, like ASAP. Get on a flight right now. I need you all over the TV. So yeah, we got to understand what situations we face, and how to go forward as far as rectifying it. You know what I'm saying? Because they gonna pay. It'll be nice to get an update on this and see what's what. I believe, I know they said administrative leave, but I do believe that officer was fired
I think she was fired.
eventually. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
So, again, I'm suing everybody. I'm suing her, because you can file a personal lawsuit in this situation. I'm suing her. I'm suing Tuscaloosa Police Department. Hell, I'll even sue the damn company to make the damn taste. I'm suing everybody. You know what I'm saying? So, I ain't saying go out there and look for no lawsuit, but just understand what lies before you.
All right, thanks, MD. Ricardo, what's your thoughts here on this video that happened about a year ago?
And even though it happened a year ago, doesn't it? It's still, it feels like it was like a recent event. Because it happens more often than you know. It's funny though, because I posted this in the chat that a lot of times I feel like certain law enforcement officers, when they realize the general public has a self-awareness of their rights, they feel threatened, or they start doing the stupidity that you see that law enforcement officer in the video did. Again, like MD mentioned, if you see them changing tires on the side of the road, which is not out of the question, it's not out of the ordinary. If you're coming to help is one thing, but why are you asking stupid questions? Like, you clearly see that they're changing the tire. It wasn't like they're creating a harm, or they're literally at the side of the road. What was your intention? So you came in. What do you want? What was, I'm trying to understand, what was she wanting them to say? Because then if he says, am I being detained, or what is the reason, I don't have to answer you. And literally it's the same, you know it's applicable to anything. Once a police officer pulls up, if they're driving behind you or whatever, they have to give you a particular reason why. It's just like if they even show up at your doorstep, you don't need to open your door and let them in. Let them answer from outside. There's no reason for you to come in. Is what, do you have a search warrant? And even then, I don't need to let you in my house because I have that right. It's the same thing that's applicable here. Why are you then stopping? If you're not there to assist the people that are in need of help, what is with the stupid questions? Because they're not creating a harm. We didn't see that in the video. We're not seeing them doing anything that is unlawful or not law abiding. So I'm still trying to try to wrap my head in the logic of what was the whole reason for that. So she got angry because he says, I know my rights, and am I being detained? And like because there's always two sides to the story. But literally, I feel like she got offended because they started recording. That's not grounds for you to do all of this stuff. And then where's the drugs that they claim to say that they found? Because they said they found marijuana, which ideally now is that even drugs anymore, because it's now lawful in certain states. What is all of that? Is this antagonistic things, or emotions that's coming about from law enforcement officer because you feel in your feelings that you're not calling the shots? There was no reason for that. If you're coming in to say, hey, I'm coming in, I'm a police officer, I'm driving by, I see that you guys on the side of the road, do you need help? If they tell you no, then go about your merry way. What is with all of this extra crap that we always see all the time that leads to this? Like MD says, I'll be suing the crap out of not only the department, her. I want her to lose her job, so I'm gonna sue her. I'm gonna sue the everybody across the board. Because guess what? There was no need for all of this. It's a bit excessive, and this is the foolishness that you'll see repeatedly over and over again. But I think now, like we mentioned in previous shows, if people start understanding their rights, you can literally get the windfall. It's money signs across the board. I don't care if it's Ben that's helping them. I don't care if it's Johnny Crocken. I don't care if it's some Martian from God knows from yonder. Pay the man, pay, and I feel this is going to be a settlement, because I think she was fired, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember the story well, but she was fired maybe 6 months down the road from this administrative leave, which these damn police officers get. They get more administrative leave than my damn kids get for having school days off. It's crazy.
You want to know why?
It's like it's
I'll tell you why. It's because of they prioritize. I'm trying to think of the best word to describe it. When you have certain I guess you would say securities from a union standpoint,
oh yes, I forgot about the union.
they
Yeah.
they go their word again, Van Cat.
Damn it, I forgot about the union.
Like even if you screw up, the union got your back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's true. I hate to say it, but it's true. I forgot about the damn union part aspect of this whole thing. Damn it. But yeah. But so what you're saying, MD, so the union then comes into play. They then see probable, if there's probable cause, because there's always something with the union. If they see that because I'm sure the union rep or shop steward would have seen the video by now and then say, okay, well, what was the reason? Were they committing a heinous act on the road? Was there some kind of show us proof that what was the reason? All we saw was aggression from her. And then she swore. The taser is clearly in his back and he's crying. So what was the reason for why? How did it lead to that? Because if he's asking you, am I being detained? You need to give them a reason why and specifically state why they're being detained. You said that according to what we heard in the report, they found marijuana and it was a bail of what, $500,000? That's even bizarre to me. $500,000 for what? For changing tire? Really? This is what we're doing now? Like this is absurd. This is just getting to the point where I just feel she got in her feelings. And I hate to point out the gender here, but she's a female police officer. Maybe she was having a bad day. And who cares if you were having a bad day? It comes with your job. At the end of the day, if you're not there to aid the damn people on the road, go about your merry business and go try to stop the speeding people that are speeding and almost trying to, kill people if they're drinking and doing it the most. At least you're doing something, being productive. You're there pulling, what you call it, taser gun on an innocent bystander that's changing their tire is ridiculous to me. You shouldn't even be hired for another security post or job, let alone it being anything with law enforcement going forward. That's ridiculous. And this is where the training comes into play again, where I feel like they need to be doing way more extraneous work in terms of making sure that these people know you don't just pull out your gun or taser for any or anything. It has to be an extreme situation where the bystander is either going to commit harm, and even then you're supposed to have training to tell you how to talk them out of it. It's not to pull out your gun or taser or whatever to then harm the person. This is crazy. This is where I feel like if the union is running the police office, the police department and all of that, at least take some initiative to try to curve the perception of what the public is seeing. Because at some point in time, you're going to have to question, the public's going to question you. And even then, I don't think we're powerful enough to even sway or persuade them to do anything at this point, because these damn police officers are getting their pensions at the end of the day, I think, right? If I'm not mistaken, correct me, MD, they still get a pension.
Not if you get fired, you don't. You don't get pension, yeah.
Oh, okay. So they must have changed. So if you get fired, you don't get diddly squat. You just leave without nothing.
No, yeah. If you get fired, your pension gone.
Damn. Well, if that's what it takes to wake these people up and stop doing stupid shit that we see them do, especially when you know it's race baiting, y'all need to stop. Y'all bad apples, law enforcement that are out there. There's quite a lot of y'all, and it's happening more so. And I think in the age of where people are recording, even though y'all don't like it, that's not grounds for you to be aggressive and start doing stupid shit like this. Like, this is getting absurd now. And people out there that are listening to Tape Fist Politics, or or on YouTube, or on X or wherever, know your rights and know exactly how powerful your rights are, and ask very powerful questions, because this is what ends up saving y'all in the end when it comes to like certain situations like these when you go into court. Because even though it was a whole rap sheet, in the end, you notice how they had to drop all those charges and then left him with the one little thing that I guess he has to go prove now, that he probably had marijuana and all that crap that they would have, tried to trump up for him to try to, say that they got him in the end. But know your rights. When you see police officers come behind you, don't panic. There's no reason for you to panic. Give them reasons. They have to give you a reason why they're giving you a ticket, because they have to tell you that in the end when they issue the ticket to you. If they come to your domicile, to your house, do not let them into your house. You don't need, you just have them explain to you, why are you at my door? Do you have a search warrant? No, then I don't need to speak to you. Keep it moving. There's nothing for you to be like, getting, worked up over, because at the end of the day, if you know your rights, they are going to do whatever they're going to do, but you could get the windfall, run with the bank with the dollar signs and be Scrooge McDuck for all we care. But just know your rights and stop being terrified of these damn disgusting, bad apples, because I could say the worst right now, but I don't want to speak for everybody in broad brush. The good law enforcement, even though we don't think they're out there, there's some out there, but my God, this was just uncalled for and just really just a waste of space and time. But I'm glad she's fired, and let's hope she never gets into this field of job again going forward.
Although, yeah, you could just hear the delight in her voice. she seemed to go out of her way to make this interaction happen. She's full of crap, is what it is. The guy's doing his tire. She should have been helping him put the tire up, if anything. He's supposed to serve and protect as a police officer. She's like, "Oh yeah!" As soon as I got a gun, "Oh yeah!" And he just shot the guy several times. Could have killed him. So that's a real trash bag human. So to go from one trash bag to another, check the segue. It's time for us to go into session, lame duck session. So on the other end, we'll find out who is number 71 on the lame duck, the prestigious lame duck. And it goes now.
First things first, in this lame duck session.
For the United Nations General Assembly to share the extraordinary progress we've made. In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
You're trying your best, but it never feels like enough.
I started having second thoughts almost the moment I sat down on the plane.
Lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Turn them off. Let's go. Ready? Turn.
We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
So I changed my return flight and flew back on the first available flight I could take.
I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced.
I'm tired of being quiet.
I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
With great power comes great responsibility.
These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones. You see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it? These lights. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday. You'll see more birds than you've ever seen ever in your life.
And the Trump administration has also reversed its decision to terminate hundreds of federal employees who work on the nation's nuclear weapons program.
The move is causing major confusion inside the program. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has the latest from Washington. This morning, officials are trying to rehire some critical nuclear workers, days after nearly 300 employees of the National Nuclear Security Administration were fired. An internal email obtained by ABC News reads, quote, "The termination letters for some NNSA probationary employees are being rescinded, but we do not have a good way to get in touch with those personnel." Hundreds of employees were abruptly laid off late Thursday. Sources say when they attempted to return to their office Friday morning, they found themselves locked out. Other employees lost access to their email accounts before being informed of the termination. Democrats slamming the administration as Elon Musk and his Doge team work to cut the federal workforce.
They're getting rid of anything in the government that supports consumers, that supports citizens against the ripoff artists who are their friends.
Meanwhile, Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin praising the administration's plan.
We hate that anybody's losing their job, but at the same time, we know that the debt that we have in this country is not manageable, and it's becoming a national security risk. When we're spending nearly $1 trillion a year just in servicing the debt, that is scary.
ABC News has learned Doge requested access to an IRS data system that retains the personal tax information of millions of Americans. Sources say they have not been granted access yet.
To add to the confusion, the administration is acknowledging that some employees who took a buyout offer have been fired or let go in error. An official says the buyout agreement for those workers will be honored.
NBC News reports the Department of Energy, led by Colorado fracking executive Chris Wright, is now scrambling to unfire nuclear security workers who were terminated in the federal workforce purge being led by billionaire Elon Musk. NBC obtained an email showing the National Nuclear Security Administration is struggling to get in touch with the people who were fired, asking former coworkers to pass along their personal emails. Wright was picked by President Trump to lead the Department of Energy because Wright shares Trump's drill baby drill strategy. Wright has said that there is no climate crisis and that, quote, the hype over wildfires is just hype. But his department's burning need now is to find some of the nuclear security workers they just canned. Now, Wright surely must have known that his department only has limited authority over oil and gas drilling, but that America's doomsday weapons would be his responsibility. Now, that said, according to Vanity Fair, Trump's first-term energy secretary pick, Rick Perry, reportedly didn't realize he'd be in charge of America's nukes. Thankfully, Colorado's Chris Wright does know he's in charge of the nukes. We know he knows because he recently told CNBC that Elon Musk's cost cutters do not have access to America's nuclear secrets, just the workforce stuff. And thankfully, Wright has not proposed combining his lifelong passion, fracking for oil and gas, with his newfound access to America's nuclear weapons, because we've tried that in Colorado. It was 1969, Project Rulison, a 40-ton underground nuke blown up in Garfield County. It loosed a bunch of natural gas, but made it radioactive. Americans were naturally hesitant to cook with natural gas they feared would make them glow. The decades-long cleanup of America's attempt to nuke baby nuke in Colorado was carried out by, you guessed it, the Department of Energy. Yet another lesser-known function of that department. If you happen to have the personal email of a newly fired Department of Energy employee, maybe send them a thank you for their work and let them know the office is looking for them.
Headline: Trump layoffs leave Hanford nuclear site with skeleton crew. Senator Patty Murray, Democrat of Washington, quote, the Trump administration has begun indiscriminately laying off Hanford workers in Washington state. Trying to run Hanford with a skeleton crew is a recipe for disaster that could have irreversible impacts. Is that what you voted for? Cutting the people who maintain the power grid? Cutting the security engineers who manage the cleanup at one of the worst sites of nuclear contamination in the world, which is in our country? Trump has also now started firings at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, which does, among other things, nuclear security. You know, we also have a whole National Nuclear Security Administration. Or at least we did. Now we don't have a whole one because of what Trump has decided to do to them. You know, I mentioned that footage from last week from Chernobyl, when that Russian drone smashed into the reactor shield at the Chernobyl nuclear site last week. One of the reasons we knew that was very bad, but it wasn't a radioactivity catastrophe, is because our own government, one of our own agencies in the federal government, the National Nuclear Security Administration, maintains sensors at the Chernobyl nuclear site to monitor in case anything goes wrong there. So when that Russian drone attack hit the Chernobyl reactor sarcophagus, one of the ways we were able to be sure that that didn't result in a catastrophic release of radioactivity is because we've got expert nuclear monitoring at that site. That is maintained by the National Nuclear Security Administration, which is part of the federal government. Here at home, the National Nuclear Security Administration maintains and refurbishes and ensures the safe and secure storage and transportation and maintenance of our nation's thousands of nuclear weapons. NNSA runs the National Nuclear Labs. They develop nuclear propulsion systems for our nuclear submarines. They are the people in charge of making sure that terrorists don't get their hands on a nuclear weapon, or that nuclear weapons technology doesn't get stolen and sold on the black market. They are also in charge of making our new nuclear weapons and inspecting those weapons, and Trump is firing them. Firing hundreds of them. The agency only has like 1,900, 2,000 people. Thursday night, they sent out termination notices to more than 300 of them. Termination notices reportedly to hundreds of staff of the small expert, professional, very important National Nuclear Security Administration. Isn't there anything about the name of that agency that might suggest to you that maybe this isn't the best place to make cuts? What about National Nuclear Security Administration bugs you and makes you think that one is dispensable? Do you want to ask your mom? How old are you? You ever worked in this field? By Friday, the geniuses in the Trump administration had maybe Googled what this agency does or something, maybe heard from a few members of Congress. And so after sending out those termination notices on Thursday night, they tried on Friday to take it back. They tried to unfire the hundreds of people from the National Nuclear Security Administration that they had just fired the night before. But because, again, they're geniuses, they fired these people effective immediately and cut all of these people off from their work email and all their work computer systems and everything. And then a day later, when they decided, ooh, maybe we shouldn't have fired the National Nuclear Security Administration, they had no way to get in touch with all those people they had just fired to say, oops, sorry, please, will you come back? This is the level of expertise and efficiency we're dealing with this new administration.
I would actually, you know what? I'd just like you to show that you give a damn, that you got a little emotion about the fact that people are losing their jobs indiscriminately, that this individual sitting down the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has given absolute power to one man who brings his son into the Oval Office, whose son says to him, "You're not the president. You shouldn't be in that chair." Now, where did he get that from? He got it from his daddy, because that's what his daddy thinks of the man who brought him into the Oval Office. So I just like to see somebody wake the hell up and get excited about the fact that your country is under assault. They're not at the gate anymore. They're in your bedrooms. They're in your living rooms. They're in your businesses. They got your data, dumbass. They got all your stuff. Elon Musk has his tentacles in everything you're doing, not just off of X, but now he's in the Treasury Department. He's in the Labor Department. He's in the Department of Homeland Security. And nobody seems to give a damn. So that's all I want, somebody to show that they care enough to get off their fat ass and say something about it.
But let's be honest, they're going to have to be Republicans who then ultimately.
Oh, the hell with Republicans. They're not going to do anything. They're the problem. Who are stripping away your rights. How do they keep their seats?
It hasn't even been a month.
Thank you.
So we are supposed to wait until the midterm elections.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There he is. There he goes. That's him right there. Put the spotlight on this big tub of lard, the OG, the incomparable Donald Duck Trump, number 71, trash bag human of the week. This piece of trash decided he was going to make another executive decision, and then when he got smacked in the face with reality, he went running back to try to undo what he did. And the thing is, if you didn't know that these were not the smartest people in the room, you got to know by now. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. The people around him don't know what they're doing. They're playing this by a trial basis, a touch and go, see how it is, learn on the job. This guy's in his second term as a president. He doesn't know how government works. He doesn't understand the importance of the different divisions of government, and he is showing it in real freaking time. A 78-year-old white man, mediocre white man, is learning his job by day to day, which he isn't putting much effort into. So this is number 71, Lame Duck, MD. What do you think about this big tub of lard, number 71?
Now, hold on. I'm trying to figure out. Is it a possibility that this could be a mischaracterization? Because in my opinion, I don't think Trump was like head honcho in these firings. I don't. I don't think that he that involved, to
That
be honest.
well, that would be even worse, right? Because he's the top guy. What that guy said? The buck stops with me, right?
Yeah, touche,
He's in the
touche.
big boy seat. He has the pull-ups on. Everybody else got Pampers. He got the pull-ups. So with that,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I agree. I agree. I agree. So again, touche. But you know, on a larger note, this just lets you know, going back to the mainstay of what we were talking about earlier, incompetence, man. You can't be this stupid. I mean, you just can't, man. Earlier, you know, at the start of the show, we were talking about FFA and not FAA and what I believed, and you know, put my tinfoil hat on. This ain't no tinfoil hat. This is a clear case of you fired a bunch of people at a particular department, which directly could have affected the lives of millions of people.
And national
I mean,
security.
we talking about fallout. We talking about a nuclear holocaust at the end of the day. Like I ain't rocking with that. This is crazy. Like what? And that goes to a larger point. This whole thing about government efficiency and getting rid of quote unquote waste. Where's it at? Can you maybe you know Venkat or Ricardo? Tell me, and I heard a number, I believe it was last week, said they already done found 1 point something billion dollars in quote unquote waste. I would argue, show it to me in the terms of the departments and what was being spent. You showed me condoms in Gaza, which was false. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? So to my knowledge, I haven't seen any documented evidence of wasteful spending. Have you, Venkat? Because I haven't seen it.
I think the best thing they got was the pennies.
Oh man, and you know I've been hearing people online say, "Oh, this is a good thing." I mean, whatever. At the end of the day, people lost their jobs. They were talking about a plant specifically. I believe it was in Kentucky,
Yep.
where it was hundreds of people that lost their job
Yep.
or going to lose their job based off that.
Yep. And Kentucky's already a struggling state.
So you know, and that's the mint state. That's where they do a lot of minting in for coinage and so on and so forth. So again, are we willing to look ourselves in the mirror at the end of the day and say, hey, look, for the sake of this idea of the government being efficient, which is a farce in and of itself to begin with, because again, money is made up. That's just a fact. This whole thing that we call a deficit is not real. Not in the sense of how we view it. What is a deficit at the end of the day? All a deficit is, as it pertains to government spending, is what the government it has in versus what puts out via GDP. That's all it means. What do I give a damn what deficit is? I don't care. All I care about is my economy up and running to the point where we don't be in a recession or a depression. Other than that, I don't give a damn what you spend the money on. That's just a fact. But they have the MAGA maniacs believing that somehow this is the fate of the nation. It's not, folks. Never has been. What if I told you, Venkat and Ricardo, that the Clinton administration had its own version of those that actually worked? I'll talk about that this Thursday on MD's Talkbox Live. I'll
Mm.
talk. So again, this notion of government spending, government funding, deficits, and wasteful spending, it's all BS. What they're doing is they're trying to, because they don't want to have you have a sense of paying for it. They're trying to get every little, it's almost like finding change in the couch. They trying to get every little bit they can for when next year comes, when they do the biggest tax cut in the history of America, they don't try to put as much of the onus on you. You still gonna get a lot of it, but they don't want you to make it look like that's what they're doing. Because Trump is about to do the biggest corporate tax cut in the history of this country. It's coming. I say it's coming sooner rather than later. I'm saying 2026. So they finding lint and nickels and dimes in the couch to justify what they're about to do. That's all it is.
100%.
Because he knows if he does the same thing that he did in his last term, when he did the tax cut that put over $3 trillion in this quote unquote deficit, people gonna bitch and complain about it. So he said, hey, maybe I should do this another way. All you gotta do is follow the money, folks.
And not only that, you know, he did the tax cut in 2017, and then a few years later, what happened? COVID. So when you cut taxes, you have less revenue. And when you need revenue is when you have a catastrophe like a COVID. And those individual states that was cutting taxes and doing all that other stuff, ill prepared for a major catastrophe. And by the way, we're cutting everything. Let's cut FEMA. Now, what if we have
Yeah.
a major catastrophe? What happens then?
And it's coming.
Yep, because it's always coming. Because you don't believe in climate change, so you're damn sure going to make it come. You're going to do everything possible to make it possible that we're going to have another catastrophe. And we're going to be the least prepared ever. So, Ricardo, what do you think about the trash bag human of the week, number 71 variety?
I mean, what else? What else more can we say? It's the the rationale and the thinking and all of this that you're gonna cut, you know, at a time when when it comes to like these nuclear reactors and cores and all of them, and there's a plethora of them all over the continental US. You can't play around with that. That's like national security. You know what I mean? And to see them panic after they did the fire, and goes to show that they didn't actually do their due diligence and research and actually knew what it is that they were getting themselves involved with. You can't just go and cut things and not know that there's certain, you know, particular sectors you don't play around with. That one is a huge one. And notice that some of these people are not coming back. You can't play around with that. You know what I mean? These are people that are, you know, put in place to ensure that our safeguard, you know, these grids and whatnot, that to make sure that they don't go in the wrong hands. And especially at a time when you have a lot of espionage, a lot of time, a lot of clandestine things happening where, you know, foreign powers, whether it be Iran, whether it be, you know, Russia, whether it be South Korea, North Korea, all trying to get, you know, into our supplies and know our grid system and all that. Why play around with that? And again, I if they were really thinking about what they were doing in terms of using Doge or Dodge or whatever you want to call this stupid thing, they would
Douchebags.
they would have put in place at least a 6 months time frame where you say, all right, we're going to get rid of people, but we're going to give them at least 6 months to do at least a transition where if we fire a certain amount of people, this will be the, you know, the counteraction to this. None of that was put in place. It's like they were so haphazard in terms of firing people that at the end of the day, they were like, oh, wait a minute. Somebody must have said to them, but if you fire all these people for the, you know, the nuclear grid and plants and all of that, who is there monitoring? Oh, wait a minute, we got to call them back, but we can't get in touch with Vancat. So can you pass on information to tell them to come back? No, you can't play around with people. This is people's money you're playing around with. Especially, again, it's the first quarter. You usually know people spend a lot of money during Christmas and all of that. Why do this now? You could have done this in the summer. You could have done this in the middle of the year. Why do this now to then inflate, you know, the unemployment rate and all of that stuff. To prove what point? That you're trying to drain the swamp and cut spending and all of that. Like, don't play around with the military. Don't play around with national security. Don't play around with. I could care less if if it's a campaign promise. This is not the time to do this. When we're literally haphazard and wheeling around to do, like MD mentioned, the scary point of like a couple weeks back. When you have natural disasters and you have, like, God forbid, an attack on this country, what do we do then? Are we going to then do the blame game of saying that this was the Biden administration fault? We don't got time for that. We saw what this did during the pandemic, and literally when the Trump administration came in, they literally like acted as if they were brand new. You were put in place to lead and govern and act like you have some form of sense. Put people that know what they're doing, and don't put irresponsible people that are completely clueless and are just money hungry, or literally sycophants that are like, oh, we're gonna just do everything you tell us to do because we're part of this whole tribe and whatnot. This doesn't make sense. Like, this is not the time for this. But I digress. This is what people voted for, and then all of a sudden now they're walking back talking about, oh, we didn't know this. You needed to do your homework. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna babble about this. We'll see what happens. But this is 2 months in, and already it's a shit show. I question what's the whole narrative going forward, because if they're firing everybody across the board, whether it be IRS, and mind you, this be a lesson to some of y'all. If you didn't file your income tax yet, don't expect it to be coming to you on time, because they're starting to fire people from IRS. So yeah, best of luck to everybody going forward. Hell in the hand basket, like MD said, is now in effect, and F around and find out it's in effect. So we'll see what happens. This is crazy. Crazy, I tell you.
This country is going to hell in a handbasket, and you know it. America today is a land of total chaos and confusion.
You diabolical. I hit in the damn thing. It's falling all over the place.
All right, folks. It is that time for the final sign off. So we're going to start with MD20. MD, final sign off, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great show as always, man. Lot of pertinent topics being discussed. We'll see how everything plays out. Check me out this Thursday, MD's Talk Box Live over at the MD20. We're going to be talking about the truth about the messaging of Democrats. Is what the Democrats are doing, what they're doing right now, is it sufficient enough to hold the resistance toward the Trump administration? It's a lot of questions that need to be asked. And where we're going to get the answers from, I don't know. Did AOC get shafted? Some would argue she definitely got shafted. We gonna lay all that out. We're gonna deal with the news. There's a lot of news going on. It may be the return of Black Power MD this Thursday. We're gonna talk about a lot of the things that are going on right now. There was a conference in Munich where it was some alarming things being said by Vice President JD Vance.
Oh,
It was
wow.
alarming, and it coincides with what Elon said at that AFD rally a couple of weeks ago. So are we looking at a global white supremacist agenda being pushed by the United States and other actors in Europe? That we're gonna have to ask that question.
Well,
and also, like I said, we're gonna also talk about the original Doge in the Clinton administration. Go ahead,
yep.
go ahead, Ricardo.
No, and also to add to that, I believe Canada warned Europe about this too, where they were like, "Yo," because I believe Canada is going to be having their upcoming election soon, put in the framework to let them, Europe know, like, hey, Elon is dangerous because he's literally meddling in everybody's affairs. Why is he involved in so many, countries' affairs? What is it specifically that he has that is, making everybody a prime focus? So that is something that should be, questioned going forward as for why. And I said this from the beginning too. Why is Elon's hands in many pots? I'm confused. It's one thing to have the what do you call it, Starlink, this damn satellite that's everywhere, that he's now leveraging as free with T-Mobile customers. So y'all are on his, he's into your private information if he doesn't have it already with X and Twitter. But he's everywhere, and not to mention having the Teslas and everything else. This is crazy. So we should be terrified and mortified that this man, that now the richest man in the world, is he the richest man in the world or the richest man in America? I don't remember. Is now involved in.
They say in the world, individually, they say in the world.
So he's involved. He's pretty much the new, they said, Henry Ford, and he's involved in every aspect of everybody's life. This is concerning because there's nobody to put a roadblock or a stop to him. So it'll be interesting to have that discussion on Thursday on MD's channel. So check him out, and we'll just go forward from there. But it's very scary times, folks. We should be literally mortified. And JD Vance, that's a whole nother topic in itself. A whole nother topic.
Yes, sir. So this Thursday at 8:30, MD's Talk Box Live, the truth about the messaging of Democrats. And also next week on the downfall, I'll be discussing inflation, real inflation, and what it is.
Real inflation. And that is next week's show is going to be Wednesday. Wednesday at 6:30, not Tuesday. Work related issues prohibits me from being there this Tuesday, but we'll be there this Wednesday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we have Wrestling with Reality. But next week, Wednesday, will be on TFP, regular time, 6:30. Go ahead, MD.
No, that's it, man. That's all I got.
Okay. All right. Thanks, MD, for that. And thanks for the debut episode, which was amazing. Well put together, well thought out. So I'm just looking forward to more of these as the weeks and months pass by.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Awesome.
sir. And sooner rather than later, like I do most people, hell, I've already been accused of usurping another person's channel before. I may just become the producer extraordinaire.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You gotta love it. He's doing his thing with that editing. I gotta admit that. My God, it's great stuff. All right, so we got Ricardo. Ricardo, final sign off, sir.
Yes, a lot of stuff is going on. The premise of the start of the show was to talk about, all these aviation involved incidents that's been happening. Like already 87 was yesterday in Toronto. It's time to upgrade the ATC towers and the telecommunication systems that they've used for years. They're a little bit lagging behind, but that's neither near nor there. It's the cutting across the board for the FAA that's an issue, and it's not like we're hiring people to fill the void of the spots that they're getting rid of these people from. So there's a lot of things that's going on right now that's not making sense. It's the hell in the handbasket syndrome that we're seeing 2 months in. It's very scary. But if it means that we all start writing into our local politicians and then voicing our opinions, the flaming elbows is shown on the screen. We got to see something, and if y'all feel inclined to do so, write your local politicians and speak up, or the good old demonstration or march in front of the White House doesn't hurt. Something. If y'all feel inclined to do so, now is the time to do so. You have the freedom of expression and whatnot. Read your constitution, utilize it to the best of your ability. But looking forward to next week's show. There's a lot going on. Please stop shooting people that look like how do you say, Palestinians?
Palestinians.
Right. Please stop this nonsense. You don't know who these people are. Stop assuming. Stop guessing. It's very ironic that y'all don't know what people look like, but you're shooting multiple shots. For what reason, we don't know. I don't know how that helps put food on your table or stop the egg prices from going up, but it's stupid and meaningless. And yeah, just keep an eye out and stuff. Be aware of your privacy and your laws and your rights, and let's put a stop to Elon Musk being in every goddamn aspect of our lives, because that's scary. Henry Ford did it once, and he made us work for 8 hours a day when we never had to. So go back and read your histories and know your stuff, and we'll move forward from there.
This country is going to hell in a handbasket, and you know it. America today is a land of total chaos and confusion.
All right. So, I would like to thank everyone for watching the show today. Tequila, Mr. Straight Talk, Bones, Zay, everyone in the chat. Like I said, next week, TFP will not be on Tuesday. It'll be for 1 week only on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow we have Wrestling with Reality. It'll be me, MD, and of course, Mr. Straight Talk. And we'll be going over the latest on the world of wrestling. Thursday, they got the Bible. Well, hold on. They probably don't. I shouldn't even say that because sometimes their schedule changes. So I'm not sure if they have a Bible episode. Did see Trevor last week, Thursday. Boy, he went off. He went off on the LGBTQ. I'm going to have to clip that and play it on one of the future episodes so we could talk about it. Am I missing anybody? If I am, apologize. But we'll see you guys next week, Wednesday. A lot of stuff is going on in politics. Like MD said, you had JD Vance, and there's some stuff he said about Israel and whatnot, and the Palestinian people. You got a lot of things in the background right now. Too many. There's just too much stuff going on in politics. You can't cover everything. Next week's show on TFP will be about the Black resistance on Lincoln Heights. I believe that's in Ohio. So we're going to look at how the Black community there, traditional Black community, handled the Nazis that came to their area to create confusion and controversy. And the response is what really everyone else should be doing. That's how you should handle them. So we're going to analyze that video and so much more. So we'll see you guys next week, Wednesday, 6:30. Until then, peace and have a good evening.
Peace.
She just said a terrible thing. You know what she said? Shout it out, because I don't want to. Okay, you're not allowed to say, and I never expect to hear that from you again. She said, I never expect to hear that from you again. She said he's. That's terrible. Terrible.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.